Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 200 of the Civil Gore Podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. We made it to 200, Tim. And this has been a long time coming because actually, most listeners know we had done way more than 200 episodes if you throw in the dismemberments and the minisodes.
Oh, do you want to guess, Brian? I actually know the number of episodes we've done.
Actually, I would like to know because I don't know that number.
Do you have a wild guess as how many actual episodes we've done?
I'd say probably like 250.
Very close. We've done 260.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm not that far off.
Yeah, you
That's
did really good.
That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, that was a very good guess. So 260 episodes if you count every bonus episode, every interview that we released as a standalone, that kind of thing. But yeah, this is our first, our 200th official episode, in which official episode I tend to think of as one that we review a movie, we have the first chop, we have all of our general features in. Now, we have done some official episodes like that we didn't consider bonuses, that did not feature a movie, that were like some big event or whatever, Halloween Horror Nights recap or whatever. Sometimes we count those as regular episodes, but for 200 episodes now. It's really, really, really cool.
Yeah, well, we like to play around with it. We're very loose with the numbering to
Yes.
make sure that it's correct. Yeah, because technically our Halloween Horror Nights episode was definitely not a mini-sode.
Right.
It was a bonus episode. But I think where we changed that. I think where we went off on that tangent was probably once we started doing the dismemberments as a separate episode. I think that gave us more the freedom where we realized, like, okay, a traditional episode, numbered episode should be strictly when we just do a movie. We have the first chop, we have our, the trivia, the beer pairing, all that stuff. That's a traditional episode that should be numbered. Other ones should not. Like, I remember, didn't we even have, like, early on, I remember, right? We had, like, that one where we did a bonus. We didn't have a movie, so we did a bonus episode of, like, local scares. Ghost stories. Like, I think that, but that back then we counted that, right? As an episode, or we didn't? I don't even remember anymore.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at our podcasting program, but at the numbers. But yeah, we weren't as consistent. I mean, I think recently being within the past year or two, we've been very consistent with only numbered episodes are being ones that have our first chop and all that kind of stuff. It's actually an official episode.
Yeah. Well, you know what throws us off, I noticed too, in terms of and I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean, throw this off just in the terms of numbering is it seems like during our Summer Slaycation series is when a lot of places approach us for interviews, and we have a lot of interview opportunities like over that summer period when we're not doing a regular episode. So there's really no way to pair a movie per se with the interview, which we like to do. So I think that, and especially this summer was no exception. The summer previous was the same way. So it was really hard for us to kind of pair the movie for a full episode during the Summer Slaycation because we don't like to break that up in terms of like throwing in a regular episode in there. We'll throw in mini-sodes, but we don't want to break the Summer Slaycation. And plus, this Summer Slaycation was such a doozy with the 4-part Puppet Master one. So really, to throw that off any further would have just been really confusing. But it's good to be back with the regular episodes, I think.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm actually excited to do a first chop. I'm excited to do our beer pairing, our game, our listener question. We've got some surprises for you this episode. It's going to be a pretty big episode. We have coming up a fantastic interview that we've been wanting to do for a long time. And we're going to have a few surprises. Some listeners that have sent in messages about the 200th, and maybe a new feature, Brian. I'm not even going to reveal what it is yet.
No, don't let that be a surprise. But it was something we've teased, and then we actually got a response saying that yes, you guys should do it and do it this way. And so we're gonna try it tonight. We figured
it's either going to be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty much everything we try new.
Pretty much.
So far, we've been probably on the good side of that. Like the scare battles, which we need to get back to. I think everyone liked those, and
scare battle will return
on its own thing. But yeah, this one's a little bit, or maybe our biggest risk.
Yeah. All right,
no,
well,
it is not the musical episode. Like
no,
we've
no,
teased.
we're not that mean. We're not. That
No,
cruel.
yeah.
All right, well, let's get right into it. This is our first chop. All right, Brian. So you guys, if you've been following our social media, may have seen the really big surprise we got in the mail from Shudder. And Brian, I'll let you talk about what this was, because this is one of the coolest things that's ever arrived on my doorstep.
Yeah. Oh no, this was the greatest thing. So we got, and we actually got emailed. They emailed us to let us know. They're celebrating their 61 days of Halloween, and so they reached out to us and asked, saying, hey, what's your address? We want to confirm it. We want to send you a little promotional material. Like, I'm literally expecting, like, this little tiny box coming with, like, maybe, like, a flyer or one object that
like a
says,
postcard,
like,
yeah.
Right, yeah. Like, I really thought it was going to be something, like, little tiny. Well, so all of a sudden, I remember that day, I completely forgot I even gave them our address. Like, and then 2 days later, all of a sudden, I get this giant box, and I got to knock at the door, no less, because usually they deliver things to our apartment complex. It's like a little, like a Luxor system where they, they'll put it in the mail room and they put it in a locker for you and you get a code. Well, this, I got a knock on the door and I'm like, huh. I said, that's weird. So I went and looked in the thing, because we usually don't get knocks on our door very often, and it's usually maintenance. And so I looked up, and there was nothing there, but then I opened up, and there was this giant box, like, that was, like, literally the size of, like, when I got my Xbox.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what on earth is this? And I looked down, and all I saw was, like where it was from. And then I noticed, and it said, like, then I looked again, and I saw it say, from Shudder. I'm like, oh, this is that Shudder thing they're sending us. I'm like, oh, this is fun. What is this? Like, maybe it's like a sign. So I open it up, and it's like, and I told Tim, I'm like, Tim, did you check your mail? You should be getting this today, too. I opened it up, and it's this just massive black box with the Shudder logo on it. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is really cool. And I was like, but I didn't want to, I didn't know if, how much time I needed to invest to open it. I'm like, but I was like, okay, this is something special, whatever's in here. And then I open it up, and it literally is playing that John Carpenter Shudder theme.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm just like, oh, my God. And there is so many goodies in there. There's this cool, there were these 2 jars of this really cool colored popcorn kernels. And they even sent a really cool, microwave silicone, BPA-free popcorn popper for your microwave.
Yeah, a Creep Show branded, no less.
Creep Show branded, yes. There was even some Blue A Brothers coffin assortment of candies that Julie and I have been, eating, a little bit at a time because it's really, really good. And they like that, and it's fancy chocolates. I'm not talking about a box of C's, not C's candy, the Russell Stover's. C's candy is amazing. It's not Russell Stover thing. This is decorated fancy chocolates. One was literally a mouse shaped white chocolate thing with a tail and everything. And they pack a lot of candy into that little coffin shaped thing. There was, of course, one little piece of postcard thing in there, but there was also some chocolate, there was a cool chocolate Cadbury Scream Egg. There was
the VHS 94
yeah, the
replica
VHS
tape.
Yeah, which had a bunch of little mixed candy things. I had that lollipop, that grape lollipop thing that was a swirl, which was really good. I had that eyeball lollipop. There was some candy corn in there. There was just other little things, but it was a
candle. There was a horror noir candle, which was awesome.
Right, the candle. Oh my God, that's right. I'm saving that for when I do my horror watches. I'm gonna set up by my TV and put the Halloween lights up again. I'm gonna light that candle. Yeah, this was probably one of the coolest things I've ever got. In terms of just all the stuff. And we always used to joke about how Shudder should be paying us because we support them so much from the beginning, from the early episodes, but we were joking. Shudder supports us and gives us stuff by just doing amazing content. So this was completely unexpected. The massive amount of this thing, and this is something I kind of want to keep that box forever, even though I know it's probably unrealistic.
I've kept mine. I just stuck it up in my closet because I was like, I don't want to get rid of this.
No, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. I just know how Julie is.
Cool.
I think she won't even question it until the music stops playing and the battery dies in there. So I'm gonna have to somehow find a way to keep it really playing. And it even had cool cobwebs. Oh, and then it's funny. She scared the hell out of me with it because you had a little plastic spider in there.
Yeah.
Well, I guess when she was grabbing the candy out, she grabbed a little spider and like just, I guess, didn't know what to do with it, so she put it on top of like our counter, like where we have our keys and stuff. And I don't even think I realized there was a little plastic spider in there, so I did a double take jump scare when I looked over to grab something, and there was like a little plastic spider there because I didn't know it existed. So, but yeah, so of course I emailed Shudder back right away and thanked them for like such an amazing gift, and it was definitely popular because everyone was posting about it all day, and people were like, I want that too, I want to get that. So I'm not gonna lie, I felt really good we were on the got it side of it, because I think if I would have saw people posting on this, I would have been like,
oh man,
like wishing for it. So Shudder, you guys are just awesome. I mean,
they're amazing. Yeah,
they really have it. I mean, from the support that they've given us with all the screeners and interviews and just like, remember the time my Shudder was down for the weekend and we needed it, and they jumped in for me to make sure it was up so we could get the movie in that I needed. They're just the best. They are a part of the lifeblood of our podcast, and I'm not saying that lightly or just like, and like to suck up for like future boxes of things, because we mean that, and I tell everybody about Shudder. We even got EB from Coaster Radio. Well, he just wanted to sign in for like a month, but he ended up getting a year subscription. But he said he's happy he did it. He says he's been enjoying it. Like, he's been finding so many great things to watch, and every month Shudder comes out with a doozy. And I think that is the perfect segue, by the way, into our next first chop item. And you watched it today, so I'll let you start this one, because I have my thoughts on it, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so the Shudder original VHS 94 came out as the latest entry in the VHS series, which is an anthology series. And I've always enjoyed, to some level, the VHS series. I've liked all of them. There's, like any anthology, there's some segments that are a little down, some are a little up, some are really outstanding, some are just okay. But that's to be expected in any anthology. The thing I like about the VHS series is that they always do really cool things with POV. They always do have some really cool POV segments.
Yeah.
Where it's like first-person POV, and it looks like things are happening to you. Sort of found footagey style. And then they also have really great practical effects.
Yes.
A lot of their segments are, I actually tweeted this today when I was doing my little mini review for the horror challenge, that there's always those moments that you go, how the heck did they do that? I mean, like live on camera, because like, it looks like it's just being filmed live via a camcorder, but they'll do some crazy special effect, and you're going, wait a minute, how did they capture that in camera? Like, how did this work? So I'm always like fascinated by the technical aspects of their movies. VHS 94 was another great entry in the franchise. It had a lot of that, what I just spoke of, the cool POV stuff and the cool special effects stuff. It's like they really kind of pushed it in this entry. So I really liked it. None of the segments felt the same. I mean, like everything was completely, like every story segment was completely different.
Right, yeah, it had very good variance of topics.
Very good variety. So I was really impressed with it. It actually exceeded my expectations. I mean, I'm a fan of the VHS franchise in general, but it's been a while since we've had, I think VHS Viral, was that the last one that came out?
Yeah.
So it's been a little while. So I wasn't, and then I'm also a little skeptical sometimes when they do these retro things. This one, of course, is 94, so it's kind of has that 90s VHS look. And I'm always a little skeptical of those unless they're done really well. But fortunately, this one was done really, really well.
Yeah, and one of the things I like about the series, like, to kind of jump on what you were saying too, is there's a lot of stuff where it's like, in your face stuff. So it's not only is your POV, but it's like things come at you right at the screen, and it's like, and they do that really well, not in like a bad way. And I think one of the most impressive things about this series is because it's a found footage anthology, you don't have that typical found footage buildup where there's like, an hour and 45-minute movie, an hour and 20 minutes is just like these slow buildups with little teases by around the hour mark. And then everything is shoved in at the end, Paranormal Activity, I'm looking at you. But and I love that series, but still, it's, they have that,
it's a formula,
style.
yeah.
Yeah, that formula. But this, I love it because it kind of gets into it. And I have to say, the second one in this, the one in the funeral home, was by far one of the creepiest things
that
I've
one's
seen in
really
the found
cool.
footage, and I will not say what it is. I don't want to go into detail. I'm going to let you guys. It's because it's out. By the time you're hearing this, Shudder, it's on. We got the screener for it, but it's out there now. And oh my God, I was watching it and I was like, this is generally creeping me out. This one is well done. This is really like just a creepy setting to begin with, and they did this one so well because it was very poorly lit. Intentionally.
Yeah.
And you saw what they wanted you to see in this. And oh my God, the second series, the first one I loved too. I think I think in my order and thing is there were 3 main segments, right? If I'm correct, right? 3 main segments. I think, and then the crazy wraparound ones that they do.
Yeah.
But I think it goes like 2, 1, 3 for me in order of favorites. Because the first one was really, really good too.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
But the second one just creeped me out in a way that few films do these days. And yeah, I just loved it. I think like Shudder has got like what a one to pick. I'm so glad they jumped on this series to bring it back. I hope it's a series that continues. Because I think every one of them has its, like you said, some anthologies have their moments. But this one, I think all 3 were solid. Like all 3 main ones were all pretty solid.
Yeah. I mean, all in all, this one I could not find any fault with. It was really good.
Yeah, and you used it for your challenge too, right? You used it for your horror challenge.
I was about to say we're going to talk about not in this episode, but obviously when we're done with the horror challenge, we'll go back and do our horror challenge wrap up where we kind of talk about like what were our hidden gems that we found, what are the total duds that we had. This one will rank right up there with one of the. I'm assuming will rank right up there with one of the favorites of the horror movie challenge. It was really a lot of fun.
Yeah. So the next thing I wanted to discuss is, we like to share our different podcasts, and so one of them first is our good friend Crystal from Horror Nights In. She kind of like rebranded herself and kind of took a break from podcasting, sort of, but now she's back. So just if you haven't listened to her, don't make it. She has some great YouTube stuff, great Instagram and Twitter presence, but she also is starting her podcast back up again in full blast, so give her a listen. And then a new podcast, it's called Kindergaist, and this is a podcast hosted by 8th grader Zakia, I hope I pronounced that right, and one of our good buddies, which is her aunt, Xanthe Pajarillo. So they've got a nice little horror podcast going on there together. So I think I haven't got to listen to the first episode yet. I apologize. It's been a crazy week. But I'm definitely going to listen to that. So it's called Kindergaist. So definitely check it out. There's an Instagram and Twitter page already. And the first episode is already dropped on Apple Podcasts and wherever you get your podcasts, I believe. So definitely check that out because Xanthe is awesome. And we've already been discussing that the McRib is coming back soon again, as we know. And
what a great concept too for a podcast.
It's a great concept. It's so awesome. It's such a great idea, and she's so young at heart anyway, so it's perfect. I think it's like a perfect idea. So I'm definitely looking forward to listening to that, and maybe we'll have to have her back on one of these days, and she can kind of help promo it because she's always fun to chat to on social media and stuff, and that was a great interview when we had her on to begin with. So
yeah. Next up here is a documentary that we're very much looking forward to, and you guys know, as longtime listeners of this show, how big of fans we are of the In Search of Darkness series. Which at the time when the first documentary came out, I was more than happy to be it. That was. I was on
you got
cloud
4
9.
hours.
A 4-hour documentary of 80s horror movies. I'm on cloud 9, and then they release a sequel, and now we've got In Search of Darkness 3 coming out, which is really. I'm assuming, Brian, is going to kind of scrape the bottom of the barrel of the 80s and really bring up some stuff that we've probably never seen before. So I'm super, super looking forward to this one. Yeah,
well, I remember David Weiner, of course, our good buddy, we've had on a couple of times on the show. I think he was asking at one point anyone to if anyone had any movies that they wanted to talk about on this one. And so they're calling it the final journey into 80s horror. So this is the wrap up of the series, and he's a big Star Wars fan, so trilogies, no surprising that he did the trilogy format for this. But the Kickstarter is live for that, so of course, yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. I'm going to do the one where it comes with the Blu-ray, the poster, and he adds a whole bunch of little goodies in there. I think the basic level is like $70, but you get your name in the credits. You get some really cool items. It looks like you even get like a membership, like a little pseudo membership card, which kind of is neat. Kind of looks like those old video store cards because it's got a little videotape on it. You basically, for the basic fee, the $69.99 one, which is the one I'm going to get, you get a Blu-ray with slipcase, a digital copy of the film, digital soundtrack, 3 posters, an enamel pin, a membership card, and your name in the credits. So that's like the first one thing, and it's best. And listen to this, Tim. So the new cast members this time around are Dee Wallace, who we love and adore, Adrian Barbeau, another person who we got to meet and is just as sweet as it can be. You got Julie Brown, Robert Englund, Linnea Quigley, Tom Savini, and Doug Bradley have been added to this to their roster. So that's 3 amazing people right there. And of course, you can go as high as, the next one is like 1,200. They have the 3,000, which is the producer, executive producer, which is 6,000. You get that kind of stuff. And but of course, I'm probably just gonna go for the basic $70 one because I want my Blu-ray, of course, and it'll other little perks there are just cool to begin with, and they always do a great job, and we will always support our good friend David Weiner because he is like a kid at heart. Of course, he and I grew up not too far from each other, just little years apart. Little different age difference, but so we always have some fun chats and remembrances of the old days back in Hartsdale, Scarsdale area there. But so definitely check it out. It's you can do 80shorrordoc.com is the website where you can find out all the details.
Nice. This next one I'm really, really bummed I'm going to miss out on, like super bummed. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of town for it, but KK Sam is doing their Kim and Ket Stay Alive, maybe that is.
Yes,
is doing their one of their regular drunk horror episodes, which are so much fun. I've been able to attend one of them and just had an absolute blast. But they are doing none other than Puppet Master.
It was just so perfect. We just literally did that
so
series.
Amazing.
I cannot wait.
This is going to be Saturday, October 16th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of town. I'm going up to my dad's. He's doing his annual Halloween party. Yeah, his Halloween birthday party. And this year, he's actually doing it on Friday, the 15th, which is his actual birthday. So we're going up there Friday. We're going to do the party Friday night and then spend the day at Carowinds Saturday. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, nice. Going to Scarewinds. You get some Fury rides in, Tim.
Yeah, I got to get my Fury 325. Jealous. It's been 2 years. Yeah,
I know. I need a Fury ride myself. And of course, the best part about KK Sam, the best thing is that they have their regular show, but with a little bit of different format where they so just so if you're not familiar with their drunk horror episodes, they also include their good friend Paige, the Madam of Horror, she is hilarious herself. She's awesome. So what they do is they basically tell her the episode. They split it in half, and she has to try and stay alive, but why it's called drunk horror, and I have to say I contributed to a lot of the drunkenness in the second one, because what they do is they pick a word like the old school days of the game show and Pee Wee Herman, where anytime they one of either Kim, Ket, or Paige say the word, everyone's got a drink. And let me tell you, I decided to pick gold was the word for when they did Leprechaun, and so that got everyone pretty sloshed by about a half hour in, because Leprechaun gold, and like an example, like sunglasses was for They Live, which is also where the term Roddy Pipey was born. And so let me tell you, I'm telling you, if you I already told everybody, I'm like, Saturday night I'm busy. Saturday night the 16th at 8 o'clock, I am busy. I am sitting down with our good friends, Kim and Ket and Paige, and I'm going to make sure I have at least like 4 or 5 beers. Nice,
you'll need it.
Cold in the fridge this time, and being ready to go, because I cannot wait. And they do a break. They do bathroom breaks because I know myself I needed them.
Those are
at
fun.
that one, because once you break that seal. But let me tell you, it is so much fun because, I mean, you know, we love Kim and Ket and Paige as it is, but like this is just above and beyond what they do for this show, because it is just so much fun, and you're such a part of it, and the chat is where it's really at, because, you know, there's so fun because Eric's in there and he posts the little chat, like the quotes on the screen, so people can see the really funny moments. And we've already been tasked, like they're already expecting us to bring our A game, because especially when Tim and I were both there, it was like an onslaught of puns.
Oh my god, yeah.
And everything. So I'm gonna have to pick up the slack for Tim and just be on my super pun A game. But I'm ready for it because I cannot wait. I've been waiting for their next one. It's been a while, but I think they time it for when it's like a per quarter, so they try and do 4 a year.
Yeah.
So this will be awesome. So join them. Of course, you can find out if you follow them on social media. You'll find out all the details. I would not miss it if you have nothing to do that night. I mean, look, it's, you know, especially in the East Coast, it's fall. It's 8:00 on a Saturday night. What else are you doing?
Besides watching movies for your horror movie challenge,
right?
You could take a break from that for this.
So get it. And speaking of that, I have to say this is by far the most participation and back and forth we've had for a horror challenge in 5 years. This is great. So many people are involved in it. Like Jeff Whitmire is involved in it. And he's like posting nonstop with his trials and tribulations of navigating this horror challenge, you know.
Yeah, it's taken off for sure. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, and our buddy Victoria, of course, from Embroidery, she loves this challenge, so she's been watching some stuff too. And I think one of my favorite things was with David McHugh when he writes like Shark and Saw, like what would he have? Shark and Saw Women's Prison Massacre. Movie goes, you know, watching this title, you have to be participating in the Civil Gore Horror Challenge.
Yeah, it's your chance to watch those movies you would never watch otherwise.
Right, but that's fun because you find gems and you find those, and I'm telling you, those are, in the end, they're just as much part of the horror fun as it is. And I love this challenge every year. This is something that, I mean, I know we flip-flop things around and formats and stuff. This is something I don't think we will ever change. I can never not picture us doing in October. Even if the podcast ends, I think this has to live on in perpetuity.
Yeah, we'll just that'll be the only thing. If that's the only thing we do all year, it'll be that.
Yes, that'll be it.
We have a update on board game news. We have so you guys remember Horrified? We talked about Horrified endlessly, which was that Universal Monsters cooperative board game that came out at Target. Well, they've got a new version out called Horrified American Monsters, and it's essentially the same game, but it's now themed to cryptids of North America, which is really cool because you know how much me and Brian love cryptids.
Yeah,
so
that's
now
cool.
Instead of fighting the Mummy or the Wolfman, you're fighting a Mothman or Bigfoot. And I've got my copy now. I opened it up. I haven't gotten a chance to play yet, but on the surface, it looks like really the same game mechanics, but it looks like the monsters are very different. So brand new mechanics for the monsters. They look a little more complex, actually, than the monsters in the original Horrified. So I'm really looking forward to taking this one for a spin. I think it's
mine's on its way. It already shipped from Target, which is great. So mine's on its way because my local one did not have it in stock. But which Target, all you have to do is order. Once you order over $35, it ships for free, no matter what else you have on it. And so I had happened to be placing my Target order anyway because I do a lot of it. It's just easier to just go order it and pick it up. And so I had it, and I'm like, but they didn't have it in stock, but I was already over the $35 threshold, so it shipped right away. So I'm looking forward to it. And, you know, you figure it's a lot when you have a clean slate and you're making those kind of monsters, you have much more variance. Like, you know, with the Universal Monsters, trying to stay really in the theme. And I think they did an amazing job on how to beat each monster for the Universal Horrors. But with this, they have more of an open playing field.
Right,
you know, it's more open-ended, so they could be way more creative. And that's good because, you know, some were easy to get. Like Dracula was pretty simple. The Creature at some level was pretty simple, and that's why those were always the two they started with. Well, you know, it got a little bit harder. Like the Mummy was a bit of a pain. The Wolfman and the Invisible Man were definitely challenging. Frankenstein the Bride were kind of fun. I mean, but they could be a pain in the butt too. But still, all in all, they were very set in their ways on how to beat them in a very obvious way. But so I'm looking forward to this. So I can't wait for this to get this thing.
Got some cool mechanics like Bigfoot, and this one doesn't attack you. He runs from you because he's trying to hide. So you're trying to collect all the photograph pieces so you can put together a picture of him. So you're trying to like take snapshots of him and chase him down. So he works like way different than other monsters. And then you have like another one. It's called like.
So how does he kill anybody? Like how does he like hurt you in the game?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't quite know how that works yet. There's another one that's like the Banshee. I don't remember which state that legend comes from, but the Banshee tries to lure you with song. So you have like these violin tokens that as the Banshee hurts you, basically your violin token gets closer to like a death track, and you have to like spend items and stuff to push the violin token back so that you're not as influenced by her song. So
that's
really,
so cool.
Yeah, really, really cool mechanics. I think this was going to be a lot of fun to like, and especially now it's one of those games I don't have to relearn because I know how to play.
Right.
All I have to learn is how to beat the new monsters. So that's going to be a lot of fun to explore. Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
The last thing here on the rundown is the Monster Mash cereal, which I have not been able to get my hands on. I guess I'm going to have to order it direct from Target because they did not have it in our local store.
Yeah, they didn't have it at mine either. I got it, and I noticed there were two versions. Like one of our person we follow on Twitter, she had a version where it was just Frankenberry, Count Chocula, and Boo Berry, which I used to always mix together anyway. But when I remember about 10 years ago when they had all of them out again for that limited time, I had done this very cereal, the Monster Mash, which of course adds Fruit Brute and Fruity Yummy Mummy into the mix, and that's what it is. But it's funny, when I ordered Target, they sent me actually 2 boxes of Monster Mash and an extra box of Count Chocula, inexplicably. So all of a sudden I get this big box and I'm like, this is really big for 1 box of cereal. I mean, I know it's family size, but I was like lifting it and the weight, I'm like, it just doesn't seem right. I'm like, oh God, I hope they didn't mess it up and send like the Funko game, of it or something by mistake or something weird. I mean, I'd be happy, but I kind of wanted my cereal. And I open it up and there's 2 boxes of Monster Mash and 1 box of Count Chocula. So,
nice.
I mean, it's taken me a while to go through the first one yet because I usually really start eating it now. So, but if I don't eat through it, Tim, and you're still having trouble finding it, let me know and I'll send you the extra box.
All right.
But the Count Chocula one was weird. Like, I don't know why they just threw that in
I love
there.
that they just randomly said, like, this guy really loves Monster Mash cereal. Let's just send him an extra box.
Yeah, I'll send him an extra couple of boxes. But that is not the first time something like that happened to me. One time I ordered from Best Buy. I ordered this. Remember when Bluetooth headsets were like the rage?
Yeah.
And now pretty much everyone just uses their AirPods. But so I ordered one. It was like $10 from Best Buy. So I ordered one. They sent me a case. So I had like 6 of them. They sent me literally a whole case of them by mistake. Like the guy pulled it off the shelf and just said, oh, all right. He must have been rushing that day trying to get out off of work. And so I basically got an entire case of Bluetooth headsets, which I think were like 6 of them. So I was literally handing them out as stocking stuffers. Like, here you go.
Free Christmas gifts. Yay.
I was like Rodney Dangerfield, in like Back to School. Like, oh, yeah, here's a pen. Hey, have a pen. Like that. I was like that. It was funny. But, yeah, so anyway, Monster Mash cereal is very good. Essentially, it's just what I've done for when I've had the opportunity to do it, but I like that it's in one nice box, and I had to get it because that's another thing David Weiner and I used to talk about is our love of monster cereals on that one Halloween episode. Yeah. So once we knew this was coming out, we were all like talking about it. So it is out, and so check Target. If not, look online. I saw it like selling on Amazon for like $20 a box. I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Come on, guys.
It's
cereal.
Just order it on Target for God's sake if you can't find it. But
all right, so our next segment here, we wanted to kind of go through some memories and sketches of the show. So we kind of picked out some that we thought were fairly funny, and we also have some great comments and recordings and audio recordings that people sent in that we wanted to play, congratulating us on the 200th, which was really, really greatly appreciated and really super cool to hear. But I guess what we'll start off with, Brian, is I want to play this little snippet of our very, very first episode. This is the episode I was terrified to go back and listen to. Absolutely terrified. I did go back and listen to some of it, and Cody was right. It's not as bad as I thought. But we'll see what you guys think. So here we go. Our very first episode of Civil Gore. Hey guys, this is Tim.
Yeah, this is Brian.
And welcome to the first episode of the Civil Gore podcast. Tonight we're going to discuss John Carpenter's classic Halloween from 1978, one of our favorite horror movies.
Yes, it's definitely one of my all-time favorites, and it definitely was an inspiration for me to getting into horror movies, so we figured that would be a good start, to start with one we're pretty familiar with and that we both love a lot, and yeah.
As you may tell from our accents, Brian's from up north, I'm from down south, and so that was the inspiration behind the Civil War pun title for this podcast, and hopefully we'll be discussing these movies civilly.
Yes, and I think we owe that a nod to Kevin on that one, right? For the name that I think he came up with that, right?
Yeah, my brother came up with that genius title. So let's go into how we became fans of horror films, because nobody knows who we are yet. Nobody knows our background in horror. So let's kind of go in a little bit of what was your first horror experience and what got you into this hobby. All right, Brian. So you didn't get to hear that live because when we recorded
I
this,
didn't. Was I more New York than ever in that one? I try and tone my New Yorkness down as we got on and try to sound more professional. But...
it was so funny because I was new to audio editing at the time. I had no clue how to edit podcasts, no clue whatsoever. And we kind of performed that show completely live. We had no clue that we could mess up and just edit it out. So we were basically that was one take. And it took us a while to realize, hey, if you screw up, who cares? I'll go back in and edit it out. But at the time, I had no clue. So it was it was funny going back and hearing that and going, man, we genuinely thought this was going out live on air, to the radio or something.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I mean, you know what's funny? I remember we did at the time got a lot of compliments. I mean, yes, they were mostly from our friends at that point because we didn't really have much of a presence on social media.
Right.
Now we have people that listen and we know, and people will comment on stuff. But back then, it was literally our group from our coaster group were the ones that were listening to it. But I remember getting the compliments well, I like how you went in, and we haven't done this format in years. We talk about the music. We'd have very segmented sections of what we talk about the movies. Now it's kind of off the cuff. It's different. But and I also remember back then too was when we would literally do a whole synopsis of the movie.
We would go scene by scene. Yeah, we almost did a KK Sam type thing, except we weren't it wasn't like a game. We were just literally going through every scene of the movie.
The game was to see how long we could last by not getting sick of rehashing the movie we just saw. But
so what I thought I would do, Brian, is kind of we're gonna bring you another couple of clips, but I wanted to intersperse these with some of the messages we got from our listeners. First one up is. This was from Cody. She sent us in this nice little message. You want to read it, Brian?
Sure. Right. I'm not going to try and do Cody's voice or anything.
No,
I know what she sounds like, but I'm not going to do her
we're not going to do a Cody
impression. No. She's grandfathered in. If anyone is grandfathered into the world of Civil Gore, it's Cody, because she is and we just want to say too, I mean, I know we say this a lot, but really the gratitude we have for her is really second to none, because she's been there from the beginning. She was the first person, I think, right? She had to be the first person to reach out to us. And we have a lot of people that will comment on it, but she was the mainstay from the very beginning, and she's always just and it was so funny because she was always so impressed that we wrote back. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't we? Who are we? We're just.
It reminds me a lot of. You'll hear this guy, when we do when we play the upcoming interview. But it reminds me a lot of when I first started interacting with Coaster Radio, and I'm like, oh my god, they said my name on the air. What is going on? So it's kind of funny how that works. But now I'm on the flip side of it. I'm on the other side of it.
Right, and and Cody is has now become a very good friend. We talk to her all the time on Facebook, and we played Friday the 13th with her. She's entered the world of making fun of Cone as he gets killed in Friday the 13th. So once you get that, you're totally in.
Yeah.
But anyway, she wrote us a really nice. Oh, and of course she does our amazing dismemberment help by giving us all the film historian things, literally word for word of whatever the darkest regions of our brain that comes out for these film historians. She captures it all. But anyway, so Then once again, though, she is the immeasurable amount of gratitude towards her. But here's what she wrote. So she wrote, I don't know if this is in time for the 200th or not, but I thought you should hear nice things about yourselves anyway. She said, I love the fact that you're both still so excited about movies and the show after 4 years. Even though Brian always says it's rambling and apologizes for it, which I do, of course. I love all the tangents you guys go off on, especially when you talk about movie quotes and non-horror movies you like. It cracks me up when Brian makes Tim genuinely belly laugh. I love the friendship you guys have that shines through and the fact that you guys have so many stories and adventures together. I'm so happy for and proud of you guys, and I can't wait to see what the next 200 bring. So that was awesome.
That was very sweet. Thank you, Cody.
Yeah, and I know Cody truly feels that way. She's really just a genuinely nice and amazing person, and it's like I really like we really cherish her friendship that we've developed through this podcast.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so this next clip is me and Brian picked this one because it might be our favorite sketch of all time.
It is, and it was so off the cuff, last minute, completely planned and written out like. I think maybe 20 minutes before we started to record.
With no rehearsal, no preparation, nothing.
Yes.
This is our introductory sketch to the movie Carrie.
Carrie? What are you doing with that microphone? You know that microphones are the devil's microphone.
I'm starting a podcast, Mama. All the kids at school are doing one.
A podcast? Oh, that's one of those sex things. Oh, how my angel has fallen.
No, Mama. It's a podcast. It's where people who aren't talented enough to be in real radio can pretend that they are. We're doing a really unique show where two friends talk about horror movies.
Friends? Horror? The only friend you need is our Lord and Savior. Pray with me, Carrie. Pray for your eternal soul.
No, Mama. I'm not going to pray. I'm going to put out insightful commentary on a weekly basis.
But they're all gonna laugh at you!
Mama, be quiet. I'm trying to get the sound levels right.
It's right here in the scripture. And lo, the raven said the first sin was movie reviews. Say it! Say the first sin was movie reviews!
No, Mama, I ain't gonna say it. I wasn't doing anything.
Say it! The first sin was movie reviews!
No, Mama!
The first sin was movie reviews! Say it!
The first sin was movie reviews, but Mama...
Oh, the curse! The curse was lack of iTunes reviews! The curse!
No, Mama, we're gonna get all kinds of iTunes reviews, I promise.
Pray with me, dear Lord.
No, Mama, I'm putting out an episode this week.
But I can see your dirty pillows.
Mama, they're called headphones and all podcasters have them.
Harry, how did you move that Yeti mic? And where are you putting it?
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 1 of the Carrie White podcast. I'm your host, Carrie White. You know, guys, prom really sucked this year.
Brian, all I can think of is I've never laughed that hard. I don't think I've ever laughed that hard while actually recording the podcast as we did as we were trying to record that.
Yeah, no, this one, and the other day, I was just telling Tim before this when we were talking about where we were going to place these clips in the show, that I was watching, Julie and I were watching the Eli Roth horror, his master, whatever, that Eli Roth horror things, and he had the one, it was Crazy Children or whatever, and they featured Carrie in a segment, and they had the clip where she said, she goes, no, Mama, I'm going. And all I could think of is our bastardizing of that sequence, and I was just hysterical laughing, about it, like Julie kind of looked at me like, what are you laughing at? And I couldn't even go into why, but it was like, that was definitely one of it fit so perfectly the way we did that sketch without any kind of official planning, and I think that sometimes that works out the best for us. I really think the less planning we do, the better the comedy is.
Yeah, it was hilarious. All right, so time for another listener audio that David McHugh sent in, and we really appreciated this message.
Hey, Tim and Brian, it's David McHugh. the horror mailman, and I'm actually calling you from the mail truck. It is 102 degrees outside. My truck says it's about 112 inside, but I'm not going to complain because I'm here to say congratulations on 200 episodes. What an accomplishment. And I have heard actually every single one of them, which may be an accomplishment as well, from the best of the Civil Gore podcast, like your interview extraordinaire, how about Extravaganza, with Lauren Marie Taylor. Your Halloween film challenge is always awesome. Your Motel Hell review was great. From your worst of, which is frankly some movies that I bought that were crap. And I really blame you because y'all made them sound like they were great. But, I digress. Which actually reminds me, listeners, if you want Tim and Brian to do your recommendation, you do have to pester them on Twitter. And then about 6 months later, they'll do your review. Which, I'm mostly kidding, but kind of not as well. But in all honesty, you guys are my first podcast on Mondays because I know you will put me in a great mood. Thank you for answering all my silly questions and my responses. And I'll continue to look forward to the next 200 episodes of the Civil Gore podcast. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
All right, thank you, David. David is also another one that is
Yes.
never afraid to call us out.
Oh no, yeah,
on our
he will
stuff.
tell us.
He will tell us
Yes.
straight. He's a straight shooter, and I love that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, appreciate that. Those nice words, David. And he's absolutely right. We have probably forced him to watch some really bad movies.
Yeah, and buy some movies too. Actually, and John, I think John Eversole, we forced to buy some movies
Yeah.
too. He's one that we always talk to, and I think we've made him purchase some duds in there. But we did. I'm actually to look at. He actually, because of our suggestion, he did the RIP tour for the Halloween Horror Nights in Hollywood. So he told us when he's going to give us a report when he gets back.
Yeah, I definitely want to
I'd
hear.
love
about
to
that.
hear all
Yeah.
about that one because we've done the Orlando one. We've not done the Hollywood one yet, so I'm really curious to hear back. And he's always good at sharing all his cool adventures and stuff. So he's another great listener on that too. And also we should say Dave McHugh actually he wrangled up some of the other two 200th well wishes that we got here too. He went out like secret behind our back.
Yeah,
and got some of them.
That's a perfect segue. Let's play one of them now. This is one of our good buddies, Mike from Coaster Radio, sending this awesome message.
Hi, this is Mike Collins from the CoasterRadio.com podcast. EB and I wanted to congratulate Tim and Brian on a fantastic accomplishment, 200 episodes of the Civil Gore podcast. It's hard to do 2 episodes of a podcast. It's hard to do 20 episodes, but 200? That's amazing. And EB and I are so happy to see how far the Civil Gore podcast has come, getting fantastic guests, coming up with really innovative content on the show. But also, I think most importantly, you guys have such a loyal fan base who come back week after week. And the reason for that is the chemistry that the two of you guys have. So congratulations on 200 episodes. We're so happy for you. And thank you guys so much for being such good friends.
All right, yeah, we really appreciate that. And you're going to hear more from Mike coming up soon because we are actually doing an interview with Mike and EB from Coaster Radio.
Yes, which is long overdue because, as you'll know and you'll hear it, this is definitely a different type of interview. This is really, there's like a couple of questions scattered amongst there, but it's really just us catching up with our two good friends that really, this podcast, I know we've said this a million times, but I don't care, I'm going to say it again. It wouldn't exist without Mike and EB because not just for for the bare minimum of just Tim and I probably would have never met. Right. I mean, maybe we would have come across each other in a horror board somewhere down the road, but even who knows? We definitely would have never met and that was because of the Coaster Radio meetup, which you'll hear that story again during the interview. But over the years they've given us a lot of tips and a lot of inspiration to way to kind of shape our podcast. I mean, and that's a nice way of saying we ripped off a lot of their fake segments. Our fake segments or their real segments, but no, it's it's an homage because they have a formula that's worked for over 15 years, and their podcast is still as good as it was from day one till it is now. It just keeps getting better. So that'll be a good one coming up. But we do have one more really cool, and this one really touched me because they're one of our good someone that we've met through the podcast world, and of course that's Kim and Ket, because I still remember the first day I heard them. I was coming home from work, and I think they had friended us on Instagram and first, and so I said that. I said, "Oh, look at this new podcast. Let me check it out." And I remember listening to them on the way home and just loving this podcast. And I texted Tim right away. I'm like, "Tim, you got to hear this podcast. You got to hear this. This is so funny. This is hilarious." I said, "This is like." And it was like from their first episode, you would have thought they've been doing podcasting for like 30 years at this point. It was so good. And over the course of the time, we've become really good friends with them. That's someone I need to reach out to them. They need to come on our show, or we need to collaborate with them in a fun way, because they have really been good. It's like some people always have this competitive nature. I don't with that kind of stuff. I think I love other podcasts, and I love helping and promoting other podcasts, because they, you always will get it back and in some way. And plus, I heard a term, what's that thing, like rising waters raise all ships kind of thing. So if all podcasts do well, it can only help your podcast. And they have put horror podcasting on the map, and I look forward to. I'm a little behind. I'm a couple of episodes behind in them. But I need to catch up because I don't want to miss anything, because their stuff goes, they have the great Sammy's group on Facebook, and they always there's always some great conversation back and forth. So I definitely want to catch up. They left a great message too, and we appreciate them as just for the being fellow podcasters, but also becoming really good friends. So
all right, let's roll that.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Tim. It's Kim and Ketrin from Kim and Ket Stay Alive. Maybe. We just wanted to congratulate you guys on your 200th episode. Woo! That is such a huge accomplishment. You guys are amazing, fucking hilarious.
So incredible. Some of our best pod friends.
Best pod friends. We love you so much, and we're so grateful to have you on our pod lives. So fucking keep on going. We love you. Congratulations from us, and some of our friends are here to say congratulations as well.
Hey, Brian and Tim. Congrats, buddies. It's your old pal, Jerry the Demon. Just, keep rocking, you guys. You're just so incredible. And Burps Map is here to congratulate you as well. He's a huge fan. And 80s boyfriend is back from Canada.
Oh, 80s ghost boyfriend. Yeah.
80s ghost boyfriend.
Hey,
yeah, he just wanted
hey.
to say, he's a huge fan as well. And we can't wait to hear what you have coming down the pike. So here's to you, boys. Oh my God. Do you know who's here? It's Paul. We found Paul.
Paul!
Paul is here to congratulate you as
well. So, cheers to you guys.
China holds out. Tits up.
Ring, 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 ring.
Perfect.
All right, so I really appreciate. I was so excited to get that message.
Yeah, and look
really
how they
cool.
outdid themselves. Like they had a whole thing going. It's like just in the perfect style of their show. They did it with they did a great whole thing with their message too. So that meant a lot.
Yeah, that was really, 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 really cool. All right, we got one more sketch for you guys. Brian, which should we unleash? Should we unleash the comedian or the musical, or should we inflict some musical pain?
I feel like I think that comedic one was really good, because I think that was just a smart, because it was kind of came through our first Summer Slaycation series, and I think it was just really, you did an amazing job editing that in with all the crowd sounds and everything, and it was our really first complex sketch that we did.
All right. Well,
And I think it deserves its day in the sun, Tim, for all your hard work on it.
All right. Well, we'll play it here. This was our comedian sketch. I have not even listened to this before I'm putting it into this episode. So
oh no,
I don't even remember what this was about. But we'll just roll it.
I just remember we gave something. Jerry Seinfeld was.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I know I had a really bad Jerry Seinfeld impression of this.
Yeah. It was a wacky sketch, but it made sense. I think it all started because of the Freddy, right? Because we were saying how Nightmare on Elm Street series, like Freddy got comedic.
Yeah,
so
that's what
I think
that's
why we put this in there.
All right, well let's roll it, and apologies in advance.
Brian, is this a dream again?
I don't know. Why?
Because why else would we be sitting in this rundown comedy club in Springwood, Ohio? Don't we have better things to be doing?
Like what?
Like recording our latest episode of Civil Gore?
Yes, but I think we can get some stuff for our show in here.
Here? How could this place help us in any way?
You'll find out soon enough. Oh, okay, get ready. Looks like the show's about to start.
Live from Hollywood Boulevard, it's the Crypt Keeper!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Die Laughing, the comedy club where all your favorite horror icons perform stand-up comedy. I may be a little biased, but I think all these acts kill. Our headliner is still getting ready backstage, but we have some opening acts that are sure to leave you in stitches. Our first performer enjoys flaying, torture, and needlepoint. Your laughter will be legendary, even in hell. Give it up for Pinhead!
What do you get when you cross an elephant and a flamingo? 1,000 millennia of unbearable pain and suffering. Why did the chicken cross the road? To escape the realization that his existence was devoid of meaning and that he would die alone.
Ooh, it's always hard to see a performer die on stage. You might say that act Cenobites. Let's move right along with our next performer. An outdoorsy guy. He loves to camp but hates water. Give it up for a true mama's boy, Jason Voorhees.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Cut it out! Okay, all right. Thank you! Thank you! Wow! Big crowd! I'm a bit of a loner, as you may have heard. I don't have much luck with the ladies. The good ones always seem to get away. It's true. People say, Jason, why the mask? Have you seen my face? I tried to enter an ugly contest one time. They said, sorry, no professionals. I'm the reason Slenderman has no eyes, people. It sucks being so ugly. The only way I can bang a chick is against a tree. Repeatedly. People like to say I'm a mama's boy because I keep a raggedy old sweater and rotted head in a shrine. I say I'm just being a good son because without me, she ain't got no body. I once had someone come up to me and ask me how I kill time between camp seasons. So I took out my machete and chopped up a clock. I tell you though, teenagers today, they drive you crazy, but you can't kill them. Oh wait, yes you can. people ask me why I'm so full of rage. Wouldn't you be angry if you had no friends, had to eat roadkill, and was killed by one of the Goonies?
Let's give it up for Mr. Voorhees. That was great, unlike most of your sequels. I'm kidding. Let's bring up our next performer, a guy who's been slaying audiences since childhood. The myth, the legend, the shape, Michael Myers.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. People say, Mike, you really love Halloween. Are you kidding me? I hate Halloween. It's the only holiday where people actually try to kill me. You try to burn me, shoot me, stab me in the face with a coat hanger, run me over, throw me down a pit, and I kill a few whiny teenagers and I'm the bad guy. Speaking of those teenagers, what's the deal with babysitters? I don't see them sitting on babies. I mean, wouldn't you think that's what they should be doing? Babies are great for sitting. They're soft, they stop crying if you sit on them long enough. I don't get it. People call me the boogeyman. Ooh, look out, here comes the boogeyman. Really? I murdered over 100 people. The best nickname I can get is somebody that sounds like they still love disco? And what's with this tagline? The night he came home? Who are the ad wizards that came up with this one? Can you imagine these guys coming up with the slogan for The Exorcist? The night her head spun around. The night she threw up pea soup. No, not Wednesday night. The other one. The night where she jammed a crucifix up her. Yeah, that one. You know, it's tough dating when you're a serial killer. I mean, I think I have something to offer. I've got a station wagon, I've got a house, pretty good sense of humor. Some folks think I look like William Shatner. I mean, I'm better looking than this next guy. Freddy? I've seen frozen pizzas with better complexions. That's my time. You've been great, ladies and gentlemen.
Just when I thought the show was shaping up to be a good one. But now, it's time for the act you've been staying awake for. Just don't get me to scratch your back. Freddy Krueger!
Hello! Good to be here. Good thing those opening acts put you to sleep. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see me. So that Jason is sure a downer, am I right? If only he found a way to mask his emotions. Hey, I don't blame him for covering up that mug. It was starting to give me nightmares. So being burned all over my body, I thought I'd never meet anyone, so I decided to use an online dating site. I figured the most appropriate would be Match.com. I tell you though, you know what really burns me? The parent from Elm Street! I've been golfing quite a bit lately, although the other golfers hate me. I think it's because I intentionally slice. He started up with me once, so I put a hole in one. So kids are a handful, right? Anyone in the crowd have kids? Great, what's your address? Just kidding. I already know the address. Well, remember, this club has a 2-dream minimum, and don't forget to script your waitresses.
There, that's our show for the evening, boils and ghouls. Frighty Fright!
Wow, that was something else. What did you think, Brian?
Kind of thought it was like the Nightmare on Elm Street series. The more Freddy tried to be funny, the more it sucked.
Hey, that's a brilliant concept for a podcast episode. We have to wake up and record this.
Wake up, Brian! Wake up! We have to wake up! Wake up, Brian! Wake up!
All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that little look back at some of our early episodes. Now, all of our episodes are still available. Libsyn, which is our hosting provider, keeps them forever. So if you go out to, and I can actually put it in the show notes, if you go out to we have a webpage through Libsyn that has every episode we have listed. And also YouTube has all of our episodes. So if you look us up on YouTube, you can go back. If you're a newer listener, you can go back and listen to those early episodes. We'll warn you, probably some of the early ones are a little rough compared to our current format, because we changed formats quite a bit, but they're also a lot shorter. So if you're looking for shorter episodes, they're probably back there.
Yeah, they are shorter, but it was like we felt the flow works better now because for those who don't remember, we used to have the Dismemberment weekly, and it really, we found out, I still remember we were discussing this at your kitchen table, Tim.
Yes, we were.
We were discussing how we could speed up the show because we felt it was getting a little on the stale side.
It was always dragging in the middle, yeah.
Yeah. And it was tough when, there's some night, you get enthused when you do the podcast, but sometimes, you really want to kind of get to the movie or you want to get to the other segment. And then you'd have this first chop and then just a little droning off on Blu-rays. And while we realized but the problem is we realized that a lot of the comedy comes from that. So we didn't want to lose it completely. We just wanted to reinvent it. And we figured, well, what if we just do a monthly show?
That was I think that's the single best format change we've ever done.
I agree. I agree. And it was just, and I think it's fun because those dismemberments turn out to be some of our amazing episodes, and I think that whole film historian thing really took off from that because I think we got more because we kind of gave it its own identity through those episodes. So yeah, it was fun.
All right, well, it is time for our interview with Mike and EB from Coaster Radio. These guys, like we said, put Civil Gore into existence, essentially, because they not only their meetup orchestrated Brian and I meeting, but their format inspired the format of our podcast, and their advice over the years as to being consistent with your content, interacting with your listeners, being responsive, all that is stuff that we've taken to heart and tried to put into our podcast. So I hope you guys enjoy this. This is genuinely just a no real, not like our typical normal formal interviews and not even really totally horror related. It's just a look into the people that inspired us and how all that came to be. I think and hope you guys will really enjoy it.
Yeah, and we know we do have a lot of crossover listeners, so I think that'll be really fun for them. Like I know David McHugh is one of them. He loves Coaster Radio and he loves our podcast, so he probably will really, really enjoy this interview because this is just four of us kind of riffing and enjoying the friendship and the love of podcasting over the years and stuff.
Yep. So here we go, our interview with Mike and EB.
Most podcasts can trace their origin back to another podcast that inspired them. In the case of Civil Gore, that podcast was, of course, Coaster Radio, the original theme park podcast. So we felt to celebrate our 200th episode, who better to have on the show than the two people who provided inspiration, support, and most of all, friendship along our journey. So please welcome to the show, Mike Collins and EB.
Wow,
hey
that was nice.
Very nice. That's great. Wow.
We were going to get NPH to do that, but we figured, that'd be a little weird.
We
stole enough from you guys. We keep borrowing from the show.
Yeah, right.
Love it. I love it.
So, guys, for those who may not know about Coaster Radio, all 5 people out there that don't know about your podcast already, tell our listeners a little bit about the show.
EB, why don't you jump in? Give kind of the elevator pitch.
Sure. So CoasterRadio.com has been around for now, I guess, 16 years, Mike. We're going into our 16th season. We were a podcast before YouTube existed. And it started out as just a group of friends talking about theme parks and roller coasters and has evolved into what it is today, which is just a couple of friends talking about theme parks and roller coasters. And we try to have fun. It's pretty laid back. We like to talk about how I guess people who listen to your podcast probably understand the difference between the enthusiasts and the hardcore fans versus the general public. And we like to think that CoasterRadio.com is a theme park and roller coaster podcast that's accessible to everybody, but is still friendly and still understands that hardcore fandom. So that's kind of what CoasterRadio.com is.
You guys always, you started I mean, when podcasting, like I didn't even know what a podcast was. And when I finally got I remember the first iPod Touch, and I'm looking through and and I see this little app icon that says podcast. I'm like, what on earth is this? You know, and I'm like, I think someone at work told me, they're like, oh, it's kind of like a radio show that you hear. I said, oh, that's awesome.
And that's what coasterradio.com came from, was we were just doing internet radio.
Yeah.
Because that was a thing back in the early 2000s, was internet radio. And Mike, that's something that you talk about all the time, Mike, is the regret of the name coasterradio.com, because it was just an internet radio show. And then as soon as we launched the podcast, it was like, podcasts is a thing. Yeah. And now the name is weird.
Yeah, if we had maybe started 5 years after podcasting, well, I'm sure we would have had a completely different name, because we felt like we had to have the word radio in there to explain what it was. And now there are all of these great theme park podcasts and that have great names and stuff where we're like, oh, we're stuck. We're stuck because after 16 years, you can't change the name. You're kind of stuck with it. So yeah, we're still coasterradio.com, but every year we talk about it. Like, do we change the name? Is it time to change it? And it's just, yeah, we haven't had the guts to do it yet.
But I mean, it's still, it flows off the tongue. I mean, podcastio sounds funny. The coaster podcastio. I don't know if that would work.
The coaster podcast, yeah. Well, and that's kind of a funny story. Longtime listeners of coasterradio.com remember the fact that we almost changed the podcast at one point, and we went for, instead of roller coasters, we almost did a podcast about like drink coasters.
Yeah.
Where we would just be friends hanging out at a bar, and it was Coaster Radio talking in a bar.
God. Yeah, that was the whole thing.
Yeah, we actually recorded an episode in a bar.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We had worked out a whole thing with a bar near my neighborhood, and we were going to go there every week, and it was going to be Coaster Radio, like set the drink on a coaster and talk about whatever. I don't know. That would have been a good idea. It was a weird idea, but that's what we were going to do at one point. And then I think we just decided to come back and just do the two-man show like we do these days. So
I really like that, though. That was like a timeline divergence right there. In the alternate universe,
the
coasterradio.com exists.
Yeah, the multiverse of podcasting would be there. And what's funny is you guys ended up doing that exact thing on network television, though. For How I Met Your Mother, you guys are sitting in a bar talking in the background.
That is right. Coaster Radio, right?
With Neil Patrick Harris. So it's like a real multiverse exists, kind of, which is kind of cool.
Oh yeah,
we played ourselves, and we said the lines, and we got in trouble. So yeah, if people don't know what we're talking about here, so we made friends with Neil Patrick Harris in a really weird way, where we were trying to stalk a celebrity, and we were like, "What if Neil Patrick Harris was a fan of the show?" And he emailed us, "What if I already am?" And we actually,
that was bizarre. Yeah,
it was so much fun. We actually went out to Hollywood. He invited us to be background actors, extras on his show, How I Met Your Mother. And so, yeah, there's this whole weird thing that happened 10 years ago on coasterradio.com where Neil Patrick Harris is apparently our friend, and we were on his show.
And he did like, he wasn't just like they just did the the intro for you guys. He did it was a Coaster Boy Christmas. I mean, he's done a lot of stuff.
Oh, and he's come on before. He's called in trip reports from the Disney parks before, where he goes down there for their annual holiday event. And when we went out there, yeah, going back to your multiverse idea, I guess supposedly we are canon in the How I Met Your Mother universe. That coasterradio.com exists.
That's right. It does. And I'm actually watching. It's funny because what made me remind me of that so strongly is because I've actually lately at work, I kind of put like my iPad next to me, and I kind of put on some kind of like something that I can just kind of have on in the background. And I discovered that on Hulu, they have, all the episodes. So I've been binge watching the season in the background, and I'm like waiting to get up to that episode. And it just thought, I'm like, oh, how perfect time. I got to talk about that when we talk to you guys. But it is kind of funny that think about it. Tim and I probably figured we knew everything about Coaster Radio. I don't think I knew that story, though, that you actually at one point were going to do a Coaster Radio like that. Which is great.
Yeah. And you know what the funniest thing was, though, about that How I Met Your Mother experience is how terrifying it was. And a lot of people don't know like how this happened, but we showed up and they were like, okay, I think you guys are going to be in the next scene. and they sort of move these extras out of the way and then put us in. Right. So there we are, like center stage, right behind the seats where, like, you know, the main cast always sit in the bar, and we're right behind there. And no one tells us what to do. They're just like, okay, here we go, action. And like we're like, I think probably in the first take, we're probably looking around like, what do? We don't know what to do. So we start just having a conversation, and we know enough not to do it in full voice. But EB and I are going, yeah, so it's great being here in this bar, isn't it? Yeah. And
we're kind of just mouthing the words kind of like this. And I guess, is this a fake drink? I guess it's just water. Okay, that's fine.
And then we hear cut. And this assistant director walks on, and what did they say? EB, they were like really angry. They were so angry at that moment.
But they were also polite, because NPH actually introduced us on the set of How I Met Your Mother to everybody. Like, these are my friends, and I want to put them here where they can be seen on camera. Okay, great. Because the person who was mad and yelled at us was like, somebody side eye at us. Somebody is making noise and somebody is talking in the background. And we were like, oh, so when they say you have to be silent, they don't mean whispering, because we were whispering.
Yeah. So that was pretty good. So yeah, we basically got, called out, but not called out, which was nice. So yeah.
That's awesome. See, it's stuff like that though that I think, it was just a fun, like, and that, that whole story, of course, it took a mind of its own. It developed characters like the fake Josh Radnor and all those things. And still, like, and I think one of the, like, something like that, like, I know Tim and I, when we talk with all our, our group, like that we know through the podcast, we'll always say like, oh, look, it's a beast, and stuff like that. Yeah. And the lexicon of things that you guys have created, like Tim and I thought we were literally, Julie and Olivia were going to kill Tim and I, because all at Universal, the whole time we were at Universal, everything was like the Owlery, and we were saying these like Hagrid things.
Oh, we were doing we actually considered calling in a trip report as Hagrid, and going, hi there, Mike and EB. I'm down here with Tim and Brian.
But like everything was like, even like when we weren't even in the one of the Harry Potter sections, we were doing it like in the haunts, we were like putting the voice in, and then Tim just has a realization. He goes, you realize we're actually not doing a Hagrid impersonation. We're doing EB doing Hagrid.
The really, really bad one, right? Like, I am a transformer, and I'm going to be here looking at the dinosaurs.
We were actually sitting in line in one of the queues discussing the best way to do an EB Hagrid voice. I was like, well, you got to make your long eyes have to be an oi. Yeah. We were like dissecting this thing.
Yeah, which I mean, but like if there's anything that shows like the magic seriously that Coaster Radio has, it's like something like that. Like you cannot go to a theme park nowadays without it like coming up with something. I'm always calling something back from the show, and that's what's so great, because like I only hope like that like someday we even get like one thing that someone says from Civil Gore somewhere else.
And I'm sure they do though. That's the thing, like just with and that's what's so cool about the milestone that you guys are at right now, of 200 episodes. Like over that time, you don't even realize like the things that you guys have built up and say every week, and things that get into your listeners' heads and stuff. It's really kind of fun. Yeah, it's neat.
I'd like to know though. I just want to know one.
That's right. Yeah.
Although we have some, it's funny though, and we have some really like diehard fans that have listening, and they're so great too. And it's kind of modeled after like Coaster Radio, how they're always contributing and helping out. Like I think it was David, right, reached out to you, Mike, to get that great message.
Oh yeah.
And we have one of our listeners, Cody, who actually we kind of laugh. We call her the unofficial intern, because she like compile stuff for us and stuff. And I always thought it was funny when people would bring up stuff to you about the show, and you guys was like, did we say that? I don't remember that. And I'm like, how do they not remember what they said? And now I live that every time someone will bring something up. I'm like, oh my God, did we say that? I'm like, Tim, did we say this? It's
like, getting to the point now where I can't even remember what movies we covered. I'm going,
sure.
Did we do this one? I don't know.
Well, 200 episodes in, you have people that are listening 150 episodes ago, and so they're going to email you and talk to you about something that you said so long ago. I don't have any idea what I said back then. That was years.
Oh yeah. I sometimes get emails from people who are like, "Hey, Mike, the story you told on this week's show, you told it 5 years ago."
Right.
I was like, "Oh, well, I don't remember. Like, I don't remember."
That's my good story.
Yeah, like I only have so many good stories. So,
I'm sure we're guilty of that. Like,
Oh.
but ours would be like, "Hey, Tim, you told that story 3 episodes ago."
Yeah. Well, me is like I am a big repeater, so I probably said the same thing like literally within the episode multiple times. So it's pretty bad. But yeah, no, it's really like, I mean, we always knew that we wanted to have you on way sooner. I think this is way past the point of when we should have had you. But I told Tim, I said, we got to do a milestone. For this milestone, we have to have Mike and EB on, because in terms of inspiration, like I said, I mean, that is not even there would be no Civil Gore without you guys. I mean, from that, I mean, not just because, I mean, like we got into podcasts, of course, from Coaster Radio, but then the fact that Tim and I wouldn't even have met if it wasn't for your meetup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because you guys met at the campsite, right? There was at Knobel's amusement park, right? At the campsite.
Back at Cedar Point.
Oh, it was that early.
The first one. That was the very first meetup. Yeah.
It was the first one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and actually we met leading up to it, because one of you had started a chat on the Facebook group, and I think Chris Rankin started pulling in some people like, who's going to be going, and so I started joining in, and Tim joined in, and we started chatting. We're like, oh well, we're going to be there the day before, so we picked to meet at Top Thrill Dragster.
Mm-hmm.
Tim, Kevin, Julie, and I, and Chris Rankin, and we met there, and I'd say within like 15 minutes, I mean, we already had like inside jokes, and
I think all three of us, like, it was like we had known each other for years.
Yeah.
It was like instant
chemistry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the idea of your podcast though, like just how, it's two guys from different areas of the country coming together to talk about something that they both love, and there's so much going on in the horror genre though, and like now we've got streaming channels for it, and there's so many great movies. I was watching the one that just dropped on HBO Max. I'm like a quarter of the way into it.
Oh, Malignant.
Malignant. Yes. So I'm watching that now, and I'm like, I want to hear like what you guys think about it and stuff. So
yeah, funny you mentioned that, because Tim. Well, I'll let Tim tell this story, because this is Tim's story. So.
Oh, the tweet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So this is the weirdest thing. So social media, I'm not the king of social media by any means, but whenever I do tweet, I try to craft, a very clever tweet or very funny or whatever. So I had just finished watching Malignant, and I was just kind of on the phone, just kind of tossed off this tweet, and it basically read, quote, "Horror movies don't take chances anymore. James Wan, hold my beer. Malignant, what's insane?" And I just kind of tossed that off on the thing. And for some reason, that tweet freaking blew up. It's currently at 1,200 likes and climbing.
Whoa. Awesome.
And I don't know why. I didn't even tag anybody in it. I didn't hashtag it or anything. It just like completely blew up out of nowhere. So it just goes to show you never know with these things. But Malignant was insane, by the way.
And it even got like feuding. Like people are like feuding about it.
Yeah, we got people started retweeting and then arguing within the retweets about it. It just it was hilarious.
That's great. It's so great.
It was fun. Yeah, and EB is. Oh no, Mike. Sorry, you said about the. I know EB signed on to Shudder accidentally for a year, but you'll definitely get your money's worth. Trust me on that. But it was right though, Mike, when you said that about the streaming service, because I think when we started, Shudder had just kind of came into it.
It was in beta
at the right time. Oh, it was right.
Yeah, I was in the beta for Shudder, and it was okay, but it was it was to the point where like some of the movies would just freeze, like you couldn't finish them. I mean, it was in that state. And didn't have near the selection, and I kind of thought, oh, this little niche thing, it's not going to really take off, but I'll hang on to it as long as it, until it dies a slow, horrible death. And then they just kind of took off, and now they've got great original programming, and they're putting out constant movie. I mean, their Shudder originals and stuff are some of the best horror I've seen in years. So.
Well, and you guys have made best friends with Shudder. Like you're getting all sorts of exclusives and interviews, and you have a real relationship with them.
Yeah, they actually were pretty cool. And actually the funny part is when all I did was like when I happened to see like I think an email go by that or a tweet that they posted and said, hey, if you're a blogger or podcast or whatever, and you want to get on our mailing list, reach out to us on this site. So I said, oh, you know what, let me do that. That'll be good. We were pretty still I said we're still only like a year into the podcast. I was like, I don't, if they respond, fine. If not, whatever, we're maybe not big enough yet. So I just threw it out there and they wrote back that, okay, added you to the list. And, but where I really knew that they were like, that we must have like kind of had something that they found interesting and that they were willing to take, give us some content on was when they have their screeners they send, it's like exclusive to one email.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this whole authentication process. You have to go to Google Authenticators, really like high tech security in terms of this getting a screener. But when Tim would watch it, I couldn't watch it anymore because literally he would have yeah. So I'm like, oh shoot. So it was like one of us, whoever watched it first, I'm like, this isn't working. Let me ask. And I emailed them and I told them our dilemma. I'd say within 24 hours, they had my account set up. And even more so, one time, like, I guess I had originally subscribed through Shudder during Apple Apple subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
And during one of their updates, it's like they basically said anyone with that, it might have some issues. So I emailed them and I told them, like, look, I said, my Shudder is down. It's not working. My password's not working. What can I do? I said, it's, we're a Civil Gore podcast. I need to, this movie.
He was name dropping.
Yeah. I kind of name dropped, but, and the guy that we knew wrote back, he goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Hold on. Within like an hour on a Sunday night, it was fixed.
Oh, wow.
So they are really good and they take care of their people. And and I know EB, you saw the box that they sent us. Press box, which was
that
one
was
of the
so
coolest
cool.
things I've ever gotten. I mean,
yeah, they go above and beyond. Their PR people are fantastic.
Yeah, they really are. And and it's funny because Tim said something, and this reflects back to you guys too, because I remember you had said on a show one time about how you may have even told us directly. I don't remember. You basically told us how a podcast could just, it slowly develops. And then all of a sudden at this one point, it just hits something where you start to get to this next level.
Mm-hmm.
And when we started, I didn't see that. I was like, Tim, I think it's going to be you and me talking for years on end and whatever. I enjoy it. It's fine. Whatever. We'll have a couple of fans here and there. But then I just almost like on cue, like when you guys said around that, like whatever that point
2-year mark.
Yeah. We started getting people reaching out to us like, hey, are you interested in this screener? Now it's the point where we're actually having to we can't even keep up, which I think to me is so impressive. And it's like, and where it comes back to you guys is we basically just followed your lead on things on like the way we do the show, the consistency, the format of just kind of being two guys hanging out. I mean, with special segments, and it's amazing how it turned out. So it's like, I know this sounds like it's like the Mike and EB celebration, but it is in a way, because we wouldn't have gotten one episode without you, let alone 200. So that's why it's always coming back to you guys tonight. So you're just gonna have to accept the praise.
I think the reason you guys are seeing the success, you said it, is the consistency. I think a big problem with podcasts these days is that since anybody can do them, they don't realize how much work goes into them. So they might start off like doing a podcast a week for the first month, and then they're like, oh man, I'm exhausted. All right, let's do one 3 weeks from now, and then we'll do one 5 weeks from now. And that doesn't work because your audience doesn't know like when you're coming back with a new one. So the fact that you guys are like on a regular schedule, that totally helps. But then it's also the content that you guys put together too, and that it's not just haphazard. That's another thing with podcasts. A lot of people just come on and have long pauses and a long dead air and bad audio quality and all that stuff. But you guys are like a professional broadcast, and I think that's why these companies are like, hey, we want to be in business with them, and that's why it's working.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So it's really interesting how podcasts, they dwindle. I feel like, Mike, like you were saying, they start out and then they just can't sustain. But like you guys were saying, you keep the podcast coming, you keep the episodes coming. People are going to start to notice and start to feel like you are actually trying to put something out on a regular basis. And you've gotten the response like we were talking about with Shudder and everything, but also so many different people that you've been tagging and finding on Instagram and that sort of thing. So you've been getting these interviews and things like that. It's great. It's great to see you guys succeed.
Yeah. Is there somebody like? Is there a holy grail interview that you guys want? Like somebody who you're like that is the person.
I think we have like about 6, but
I mean,
but-
some of them, like I kind of in my mind, I have like holy grail interviews that we would never get.
Yeah,
that I feel like realistically we would never get, and then I've got holy grail interviews that I think maybe there's a chance.
Right.
We can get. Like we've been wanting to get Barbara Crampton on for a while, and I think that's one we could possibly get.
We have people, we have friends that have interviewed her, so we know that there's a way to. It's just for some reason I'm like nervous to reach out for that one because I feel like if that fell through, I'd be like, like like we've asked people, we've heard, I've gotten where there's no response. We got the David Arquette treatment where it was just ignored. But and that's okay because I know we're listen, these people have lives, they need to promote things, and sometimes it could be that they're just bombarded with emails and DMs to the point of where they may have been interested. It's just they don't even bother to check anymore because it's too much, and I get that, so it's fine. But but I think like I know Tim and I have two people that Tim and I share that we know are probably like those probably way out of the reach is probably like Stephen King and John Carpenter.
This would be my two. Stephen King definitely. I would probably say Stephen King would be my top, only because I've read his books. I've read every book he's ever written. I've started reading his books when I was maybe not even a teenager. I think it was like 12 years old or something. I read the first Stephen King book. So that, as far as an horror influence, he would have to be number one. Yeah. But I don't think he does
an inside like guy, right? A guy that kind of knows him, Tim, or something, right?
No, but he's actually very fond of Wilmington because he filmed Cat's Eye Here, Firestarter, Maximum Overdrive.
Oh yeah.
He visits.
Oh my gosh, those are such good movies.
He visits Wilmington, or he at least used to visit Wilmington quite a bit. Dr. Sleep takes place. The first part of Dr. Sleep takes place in Wilmington. In the book. So he's got a fondness for the town. And I've Kevin's wife not met him. She saw him in a donut shop. She was afraid to approach him.
Oh no!
Oh wow!
You Winona Rydered it.
Yeah, so she saw him down here. So I mean, he and that was not that long ago. So he comes down here, every now and again. But that would be my definite.
So what you're telling me, Tim, is you need to just quit your job and just hang out at donut shops.
Yes, there you go.
Wait for him to show up. Yeah.
I got to tell EB this because you don't even know this yet, Brian. So speaking of Maximum Overdrive.
Oh yeah.
which is like renowned for this, being one of the worst movies.
Well, that's the one where he was like coked out of his mind.
Yes. Oh yeah.
The whole time. Yeah.
So my brother is a huge Maximum Overdrive fan.
It's huge. So funny.
And so he, and we actually did an episode early on in our career where Kevin came on and talked about Maximum Overdrive. So me and him went and actually went to a live screening of Maximum Overdrive at the truck stop, or where the truck stop used to be.
Really?
And
that's great.
And watched the movie. We met a couple of the actors, and so Kevin found out through a friend of his. This is recently, Brian. I didn't even told you this. He found out that they were holding a free Maximum Overdrive screening at the theater, and that there was going to be a Q&A afterwards with one of the grips. I think it was one of the crew members.
Wow.
And so the audience was going to be, there was a lot. Kevin shows up. He said a lot of the audience members were like stage people, like stage hands and crew people that had been in the Wilmington film industry for years and years and years. So Kevin shows up in like full Maximum Overdrive regalia. He's got
like the Green Goblin.
Is there such thing? There's actually Maximum Overdrive.
He's got a hat. He's got a VHS copy in his hand. I mean, shows up. So he stands up during the Q&A and he said, "I swear, I think all these people were terrified because he's like, none of them had ever seen a actual fan of this movie before." So he goes up to like the guy that was doing the Q&A and asks for his autograph. This guy's like a key grip on the movie.
Yeah.
So he's like, "I've been in this business 40 years and nobody's ever asked me for my autograph, much less for this movie." And so Kevin ended up getting, after all was said and done, he ended up getting a poster signed by 5 or 6 people that worked on the crew of this movie
Oh, wow.
that nobody would ever get because they don't do conventions. They don't sign autographs.
Sure.
They don't do any of this stuff. They don't like the spotlight. They think this movie is terrible. They don't even really want their name associated with it. And he ends up getting this awesome poster. So Kevin is on a quest to have the biggest collection of Maximum Overdrive fandom in the world. That's his claim. So he's all about it. So he was on cloud 9 after that. But it was kind of funny.
Well, and remember, I got him the Laura Harrington autograph at the convention. She's the actress that starred in that. She was at a horror con I went to, so I got him an autograph picture, and I said, like, this is literally for the biggest fan of this movie. Trust me.
Kevin once, for one of his birthdays, he rented a whole theater to play Maximum Overdrive. That we went to.
Oh my gosh, no.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I love the fact that he went to this thing and the locals who were on the crew were in the audience. But that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. It was really cool.
That's awesome. That's so much fun. I love that movie so much. The soda machine shooting the cans at the kids on the little league team.
There's a little behind the scenes, a really tragic incident happened on set of that movie. So
oh no!
There's when the kid there's a scene where the kid hides from a lawnmower that's going past.
Yeah.
There was actually they forgot to take the blade off of the lawnmower. They did that scene.
You forget? Wait. What?
So it actually
you have a movie about machines that come to life, and you have a lawnmower that's attacking a kid.
Yeah,
and you forget to take the blade off.
Yep. So this
lawnmower that should be obvious.
This lawnmower ran over a wooden stake or something that they had in the ground, and a splinter of it flew out and impaled the cinematographer in the eye.
He
lost his
eyes. Why did you say that?
So that was just for you, Brian. But yeah, the cinematographer on that movie lost his eye in that accident, and that was his camera eye. So he basically his career was over after that. So that incident actually changed a lot about safety, obviously, in the film industry down here. But it was a really black mark on that movie. Because of that. But he also told an interesting story, not to turn this into the Maximum Overdrive podcast, but
there goes our
this is a great podcast, Maximum.
But he told they were telling stories about Stephen King, and they said Stephen King showed up and said, guys, I really don't know how to direct a movie.
Right.
And so this other guy basically helped him direct it and tell him what to do, because he showed up not only coked out of his mind, but also not knowing how to ever having directed a movie. So there's a lot of stories about how he was kind of like babysat through this process of directing this film. So, yeah, wild movie.
I think Kevin needs to. You know what? Actually, when Kevin's done with his podcast, because his is great, by the way, but he needs to write a book, like being a fan of Maximum Overdrive. That
has to be something. I mean, you can sell it at the cons or whatever.
My God, people would love that.
Yeah,
people would love that.
Yeah,
but so actually, there's this. I want to ask you guys a question that because I'm always thinking about this. People sometimes ask this question. How do you feel about the podcast? And like what I'm proud of the podcast. So I want to know what do you think you're the most proud of with Coaster Radio after all these years? Because you have a big body of work now to work with on this. I mean, 16 years of 16 amazing years. Not just like run-of-the-mill podcast stuff. I mean, you have so many stories and events and everything. So what do you think, like, would you both would think were the most moment you'd be proud of or thing about that you'd be proud of Coaster Radio?
I think it really comes down to the listeners of the podcast, right? The interactivity, we do a really good job, I think, of having the listeners contribute to the show. We have listener interactivity questions that we have on some episodes where they respond on social media with different topics and that sort of thing. But then the meetups themselves, we talked about the meetups. We have listeners of the coasterradio.com podcast meet up at the amusement park, and that's so much fun, and that's where people meet each other, and it's like, wow, this is so much fun because we've been listening to the podcast for so long and we know there's other people out there, but here we are together, and it's really, really fun to kind of see that community come together. And I don't know, Mike, you might want to add to this because we've had a bad time these past couple of years trying to make the podcast happen at the meetups with COVID and everything. We've canceled and delayed podcast meetups so much.
Yeah, it's been hard the past couple of years. But, one of the things that surprised me, especially just with COVID, is how many emails we get and people who let us know at the end of the season, like, hey, thank you for doing the show during COVID, because it was like a break from all of the doom and gloom, a chance to, even though I couldn't go to the theme park, I could sit and listen to people talk about it for an hour each week. And it was just something to like lighten the mood a little bit. And it's funny, you do a podcast, you sit there in your room and you do the show and you don't think about that there might actually be somebody out there who like, it's making a difference, or it's making them happy and stuff. And I never see it that way. I just sort of see it as a fun hobby, and that's turned into a little bit more than a hobby. But that to me is one of the coolest things. And but the coolest story I ever heard about the podcast and something that I didn't expect, like EB said, it, all the friendships that have been made, and it's awesome to hear like your guys' story that your hugely successful podcast started from a meetup from the show. But I got an email once, and actually got an email and then met this dad at a meetup, and he said, like, I didn't really have a way to connect with my son, and I started listening to Coaster Radio, and he came in one day and was listening to it with me. And then that's something they did every week together. And it was a way that they connected. And then they started going on theme park trips together. And, that was really cool to hear, because like, he was like, we just weren't connecting before that. And then now we've got this hobby, and it's, we listen to the show and we get excited about different parks and stuff. And I think that's one of the cool things about a podcast, because like normal radio and TV, they wouldn't do these niche shows. Like, there wouldn't be a show about horror movies and the horror genre. There wouldn't be a show about theme parks and stuff. But that's what's awesome about podcasting, is that there can be, and it can be for these specific audiences that wouldn't be catered to normally. So that's one of the things I'm like, most proud of with the show, and something that I didn't expect would happen. When we started this 16 years ago, it was just, hey, let's do a goofy show about theme parks and maybe we'll get some free tickets. That's what it really was. Like, let's maybe go to some parks for free. That was the idea. But it's turned into so much more, and I can't believe it. I can't believe it most days.
Oh yeah, it's really fantastic to find those stories, because we you guys know, you get the analytics or whatever, you find out the numbers of how many people are downloading the episodes and how many people are listening to the episodes, and it's whatever, thousands of people or whatever. But it's that one email that kind of lands in your inbox that tells this personal story, and we get those personal stories, and it really does make it worthwhile. So that's what coasterradio.com is all about, and that's what keeps it going. And I'm sure it's the same thing with Civil Gore.
Yeah, I noticed, because it's one of those things where that I didn't realize when we started the podcast, is you produce this, you work hard on it, you send it out there, and yeah, you get numbers back, but that doesn't really doesn't tell you that there's actual people on the other end of that. It's hard to envision that anybody's actually really listening to it. I mean, you send it out into the void and you just hear nothing. And even a hugely successful podcast, only a very tiny fraction, you guys know this, a very tiny fraction of your actual listenership is interacting.
Yes,
it's a very small percentage. So whenever you do hear something like that, I mean, it really hits home that I'm not just doing this for nothing. There are people out there that are actually enjoying this, and you're always your own worst critic. There's sometimes I just put out a show and I'm like, oh, that was terrible. I don't know why anybody would listen to this. Why were they here to listen to us ramble on? And then you get a message back and say, oh man, you made me go watch that movie and I loved it, and that kind of thing. It really does make you feel good.
Yeah, we get like people, like we have some like, we have about, I'd say like 5 or 6 like people that will always kind of interact with us. And it's like, out of whatever downloads we have, it's like, it means so much when we hear that. And one of the things I heard, we hear back to is like, oh, you guys are so, you're so approachable. You always respond to questions and you're always acting back with us. We don't feel like we're just sending something in and not hearing it. And to me, that means a lot. And that's what we based off of Coaster Radio because, that was like, I always felt like we could, even before we became much closer as friends before that, like, or even early on, I would send an email. Like, I think I remember my first email. This is kind of a funny story. I don't even know if I told any of this, but my first email to anyone at Coaster Radio was like, I was really nervous to email. It was kind of funny, but I sent an email to Mike to ask him because we were going to Busch Gardens, and I'm like, this will be my in. He loves Busch Gardens. So I could say this. I sent an email asking, like, Julie and I are going to Busch Gardens. Like, yeah, I haven't been there since I was a kid. What place do you recommend to eat? And Mike, you wrote a whole letter back to me, or a whole email back about all the stuff. And just that point, I knew, I'm like, okay, you know what? These guys are as awesome as they sound. You know what? This is the way. This is great. They are connecting with their listeners. And then obviously as it goes on through the different, I mean back in the thing, and it was funny, it wasn't until I was doing something and I saw something from, remember Ustream, that thing you guys used to do?
Sure.
I had like some old email that was like, I was cleaning out an email box and it was something from your Ustream bill is due or something, because I paid for that like extra one at one point. And I remember, I'm like, oh my god, Ustream, I totally remember that was the early way of like watching the show live kind of thing. And yeah, and it was just so fun because you just always innovated and always connected. And it was something like at the meetups, I remember there's something comforting about going to the meetups when you see like, you see your friends and even people that, you don't get to talk to all the time, but you get to talk to at the meetups, like Jean and her son are always there, and it's stuff like that to get to talk to them. And Marshall, which we missed, Tim. We were supposed to get to see him.
Our schedules didn't line up.
Yeah, we just couldn't meet him. He was at Universal at the same time and stuff like that. And like, or like when we all got together to have the meetup around Tom, for his birthday, and like, that who would have thought that was that meetup had to last like 3 years, but
right.
But it was worth it because it was one of the longest, and I mean, you did 3-part episodes on that, and
thankfully it was a good meetup because it had to last.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely did. I mean, we were all over the place that trip, and it's stuff like that, and that's the one thing I think the same as you guys. Like when you said that, like whenever I hear anything from someone that listens to the show and calls anything back and compliments us, even on the most slightest thing, to me, I'm like, okay, good, we're doing what we wanted. We wanted to reach people, we wanted to interact people, and we made so many friends through the podcast. And, it's like, I mean, not to get all mushy, but, you guys have led such a model for our podcast and the way we've done things that I like, even if we met somewhere else and did a podcast, I don't think it would be as remotely successful if we didn't have your lead to follow you guys in the footsteps.
I think the number one compliment I've seen us get is that they like the friendship aspect. They like the conversational tone. They like the fact that Brian and I are truly friends that are just having fun talking about something. We're not trying to be experts on it.
Sure.
And that's all stuff that we modeled after Coaster Radio. I mean, that's the same feedback you guys get, right? And so we were always trying to emulate that. And I feel like hopefully we're at least partially successful in that. I think from the compliments we have gotten, we've at least tried to emulate that.
Well, that's something that we've heard on we're doing a listener survey right now because we're taking a break between seasons of coasterradio.com. That's a compliment we've gotten, is people saying that we aren't even fans of theme parks and roller coasters. We just like listening to the podcast because you guys are just friends and we like hearing you chat and talk and enjoy each other's company. So if that's the same thing that you guys are getting, like if people are listening to Civil Gordon saying, I don't even like horror movies that much, but I just like hearing you guys talk to each other.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. You know, one of my favorite compliments that comes in on those surveys is when like our audience, I think, is like 90% dudes. I don't know why. I still to this day do not understand why like theme park fans are like mostly guys. I want to get into that one day and figure it out. But anyway, like we always get a couple people writing like, you guys won't believe this, but my girlfriend doesn't even like roller coasters, but she'll listen to Coaster Radio with me. That's fun. Like, that's kind of funny. Like,
yeah.
Like she probably was like, oh my God, I don't want to listen to this show. What is this? And then, the seed gets planted a little bit and they like it by the end. So
Well, my own wife won't listen to Civil Gore, so I'm not.
Yeah, I think the only episode Julie listened to is like when I'm playing it in the car, listening back to something, It's like, or she hears it, like she'll sometimes hear it from the other room. She go like, "I heard you mention me. What happened?" I'm like,
Yo, yeah, that's the thing right there. Is I heard you say my name.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about?
Well, they haven't even been on the show. Julie
No.
was one time. Julie did a voiceover thing, but it didn't. Something happened. The recording didn't come out right, so she never even made her debut. Olivia technically has been on it.
She did. She did a voice,
right? I think.
Yeah, she did a voice in a sketch or something. Like that.
Yeah.
But we've always threatened to have an episode where they have to host. And we'll see how. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see that coming. Olivia's definitely microphone shy. So
yeah, well, Julie has this thing. She says her voice doesn't pick up, and she's kind of right. When we were trying to look, I was looking at the levels, and she was talking normally. She wasn't picking up, and she said it was something the other day too. She was, I think. Were we at Universal or were we somewhere where you had to put like a handprint and it wasn't registering? I looked at her. I said, "Are you a ghost?" Because
that's so Civil Gore. Like she doesn't show up on recordings.
Exactly.
She doesn't appear on.
I live in Amityville now. What happened? Is like anything real? Am I?
Perfect.
That's the twist. Yeah, exactly. At the end of the movie, where it's like you realize finally that you've been married to a ghost the whole time.
Yeah, I know. Seriously,
it's like M. Night Shyamalan. That's
it will. I'm like in my own like M. Night Shyamalan thing.
Yeah.
But well, we definitely don't want to keep you guys, as I know you're on your break, which was you're so gracious to come on, but we just couldn't have a milestone episode.
of
this magnitude go on without talking to you guys because really, you guys become such friends over the years, and and you're always willing to help us out whenever we need it. And so, of course, we will do the same for you. And we just owe you so much thanks for all the just everything really much for the show. And in fact, one final thing I decided we might do is I thought of a great idea, Tim. I figured I would debut the thought process in front of Mike and EB too. That for the haunt season, we should debut the live Crypt report, so people can call in from the haunts.
I love it. I love it.
There you go.
So we'll borrow one more thing from you.
Why
guys.
not? If you're going to steal one, you might as well.
Might as well get it
all. Right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Approved. Yes.
That's all right. Good.
All right, guys. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. That was awesome, and I mean, I'm looking forward to many more years of Coaster Radio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
And congratulations to you guys for the big 200 episode milestone, though, because that is tough.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool indeed. So, Brian, I think the Crypt reports have to be hosted by the Crypt Keeper. You do a great Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, you still owe the Tim and Kat podcast a Crypt Keeper impersonation.
Did we ever tell you when Tim made me do it in front of John Kassir?
Oh no!
Yes. Tell the story. Wow. Tell the story, Brian.
Oh yeah, please.
Our listeners
please.
have already heard. Our listeners have heard it.
So we went to that. This is another talk about a repeat. We tell this song all the time. We went to that New Jersey HorrorCon thing, and we found that John Kassir was going to be there. So of course we had to go up to him and So we went up and we were talking to him, and Tim, of course, goes, "Hey, by the way, he, Brian does your voice all the time on the show." And I think we even mentioned, but like, I started with another podcast, Coaster Radio, and then we do this, we all this. So he's like, "Well, let me hear it." And I'm like, "Oh,
come on, show me."
But it was ready. I think right before it, I realized that kind of almost like the Hagrid, I don't necessarily, because Tim noticed that. I think he watched
totally different.
It's not exactly the Crypt Keeper, but it's close enough that people associate with it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh God, now with that in my head, I lost all confidence, but I said, I'm going to do it anyway. I got to do it. How many times am I going to do this? So I did this. So he goes, let me hear it. I want to know if my job is safe.
Oh,
so
no.
I go in and I get and I do the little imitation of it. And he just looks at me, kind of chuckles. He goes, my job's safe.
Yeah, it's just a cackling witch that does puns.
Yeah.
But he did say, he goes, but I will say, I like what you do with it. It's good. He goes,
he
did compliment me on it.
He was super nice guy.
Like him. Oh
so
my God.
Nice.
The nicest guy. And he later on, he hosted the karaoke they did, which is perfect for him to do the puns. So. But I actually haven't done his voice in a while, but I did promise our friends at the, one of the podcasts we listen to is Kim and Kat, which again kind of has that in a weird way is the same quality as Coaster Radio, because they have a different format altogether. They basically, one tells the movie and the other one has to try and stay alive through a bunch of questions. So it's a really great format, but they're best friends, and they go through, and their chemistry is unbelievable, and it's like one of the most entertaining shows. And so I did promise them in one of their on their Facebook page. Tim volunteered me, actually. I didn't, so I kind of promised I would do it because they
do that a lot
one on the voice. Yeah, Tim just volunteers me, throws me at, hangs me to dry. But and meanwhile he wouldn't even say hi to Shannon Elizabeth. So
no. Oh man, that was
what?
Yeah,
I couldn't.
He got nervous.
Yeah, I got super nervous. What the problem, the bad thing is, by looking nervous, I ended up looking more creepy and stalkerly than I would have if I just gone up to her and said, "Hey, how you doing?"
Sure.
So now I'm just standing over there like this little weird, like sideways glances.
So I had to go buy it. I was going to buy that for Julie anyway. I bought a little bracelet she was selling for like her animal charity.
Yeah, Brian's a ladies' man. Brian's up there buying. Oh, how you doing? I'll take one of those bracelets from you.
I was trying to get something.
And Shannon Elizabeth was like, that worked.
Yes.
I got a bracelet out of it. I broke a bracelet. Well, and then there was you guys would get this story. You guys would like the story just because of the 80s reference, but Tim, as he put it. So we were they had a Back to the Future panel there.
Oh.
And they had two things. Sorry, I know we told you we let go, but you got to hear these two stories real quick. So, so one of them was they had like literally like the guy that played Strickland there, the mom, Francis. What was her? Francis McCain, right? So anyway, so we're all there, and we're seeing them throughout the show. We said hi to them and everything, but. So anyway, Tim and I the whole time were quoting the line like, "Sam, would you quit fiddling with that thing? So the whole time we're joking, and then we're going back to the room one night. We walk in, and who but walks in is but Frances McCain, and she walks in the elevator. So it's
the elevator with
us and her. And she can't figure out the elevator. And so she's sitting there trying to figure out her card key and push the button. And Tim just looks at me and I look at him, and we know both we were thinking we wanted to go, would you stop fiddling with that thing and push the elevator? But we didn't even need to say it. We just looked at each other and just started.
That was enough, right? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it was all, but with the other story I was going to say, so we, the big Back to the Future stars, which was that type was Thomas F. Wilson and Leah Thompson were there. So they were on like the main, like one of those dais stages where you could go, and they were really expensive to get any kind of memorabilia. So but they would let you go up and just do a meet and greet. So we went up there, and we saw Leah Thompson, nice as can be, super nice, awesome. Without us even buying a cent. She was like talking with us, asking us, what we did. She saw our shirts and all that, so everything was like that. So then we went to go to Thomas F. Wilson, and right as Tim's about to say hi, the Zach Galligan is Galligan is from Gremlins.
Yes, yeah.
So he walks over and cuts Tim off and goes to Tom Wilson. He goes, "Hey, I'm getting some food. Do you want something?" He's like, "Yeah, whatever." And they arrange each other, and then he walks away. And Tim turns and looks at me. He goes, "I just got biff blocked by Billy Peltzer." So that's
a phrase now we use.
Yeah, so
I love it. Those are two 80s celebrities that are so like matched.
Right?
They're the same tier. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, that was that was a show. I'm telling you, I almost wish you guys were there. You would have had the best time. Not because it was horror, but it had a lot of pop culture people too, and Richard Grieco kind of went a little crazy there, which was kind of funny. So
I love those things. Like I was at Awesome Con in DC once, and the whole celebrity row there, and you just kind of look down the row, and it's like all the icons from the 80s, like 80s and even 70s and 90s and stuff, and you're like, oh my god, like I grew up watching movies and TV shows with all of these people, but like, and I think at least at this Awesome Con thing, you couldn't approach them without paying your $50 or something. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna have to stand 50 feet from Ralph Macchio and feel like that's good enough for me right now.
But that's
right to wait in line. You have to pay to get the autograph, right?
Yeah, well, they's horror cons, they're way different than those kind of like Comic Cons and stuff I used to go to, because like they have like events afterwards where you're literally hanging out in the bar with them. And it's really like, in fact, I think one of the cons, I don't know if it's the New Jersey Horror Con or the Chiller Theater, but one of them has as the guy that played Goldie Wilson from Back to the Future.
Oh no!
I'm like, that would be the cool one. Is such a cool guy to talk to.
Oh, we had a
horror con. Why was he at a horror con?
Well, Chiller is very
Chiller's
loosely
crazy.
horror con now. It's like they have the weirdest reunions there. Like they had like one like in the middle of. I mean, I know he did Love at First Bite, but there was one point it was like George Hamilton was there, and he was just sitting in the middle of like all these horror icons, and he's there. And they had the guy that played Big Bird, like Carol Spinney.
Yeah,
so it was like really like
Sure.
they have a lot of diversity in terms of what counts as horror
We
icon.
We had a PopCon convention in Wilmington one time. This has been several years ago. And the promoters did a terrible job of advertising it, so nobody knew what was going on. And they also held it during spring break, so all the college kids were gone. So it was like the worst possible time to hold a convention. And Wilmington's like not really the size of town that can really support it anyway. But they brought in like this A-tier like celebrity list of guests. So they had like Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters, and they had Margot Kidder, and they had Dee Wallace. They had all these like pretty big names. So me and Kevin went, and there was nobody there. Like the tables were empty.
No.
Like you had all these celebrities like sitting there bored out of their minds. Margot Kidder was over there doing a crossword puzzle. She was so bored.
Oh no.
So, but it was awesome for the fans because like for the few people that showed up, because they were so bored, they were just sitting there. Like you could just walk up there and like talk to them for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's what we were doing. So we were walking around like, you know, talk to Margot Kidder for 20 minutes about Superman 3 and, you know, and working with Richard Pryor. And you'd go over here and like talk to the guy that was the Mike TV from Willy Wonka for half hour. Who cares? Because there's like,
I met him too.
Yeah. So it was like, it was so cool because it's one of those rare instances where, where the fans got all the benefit. The celebrities got zip. I'm sure they were all pissed because they weren't making any money, but it was really, really cool. I would recommend anybody to at least go to one convention like that at some point in their life, because it is so much fun.
You have to. Yeah.
Okay, so it was actually so it's the New Jersey Horror Con in November is where they have the Goldie Wilson guy. So he'll be at New Jersey Horror Con November. I was thinking of going to that, so I may have to go. They even have the guy that played Marvin Berry is going to be there.
Yeah, you got to go to that, Brian.
I know, I kind of have to, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I gotta go there. Yeah, no, that's a fun one too because it's at the casino. So, but yeah, that's what I was trying to look up. I'm like, which con was the one with Goldie Wilson? So yeah, Tim, if you go to that, don't make me do that imitation.
I like the sound of that.
I haven't practiced that one. But sorry, I know we kept you longer than we said. But that story came up, and I figured you guys would get a kick out of that one.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
But so thank you guys again for, of course, for not just tonight, but for everything, for all the years, 16 years of Coastal Radio or 5 years of Civil Gore. This, I know Tim feels the same way, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been awesome getting to know you guys, and definitely thanks for all the tips and the inspiration throughout the years.
Yeah, and thanks to you guys too for co-hosting an episode this season on the.
Oh yeah,
that was a blast. I had so much fun doing that. Yeah,
that was like. So I remember I texted Tim. I'm like, Tim. So I got this message from Mike. Do you want to? He wants us to co-host Coastal Radio. And Tim was like, yes. I was like, I barely got the text sent. He was so excited because to us that's like the that seriously is like the upper echelon of being like promoted from like. Like grip for Maximum Overdrive to director.
Yes.
I enjoyed that so much because it was an episode I got to listen to as a fan. So I was
like,
like, great, this is fun. So it was really
and I was actually so nervous for that in the beginning because I'm like, shoot, like, because I like, for one, I'm like afraid of like all our, our guys, our group that we know, and they're like, they're going to make fun of us if we say a coaster element wrong. And then I got those your coaster sucks people in my head now. I'm like, oh God, right? I'm like, if I messed that up now, and but yeah, that was fun. That was a treat. That was actually one of the highlights of this year for sure. So
yeah, that was fun. All right, guys. Well, we'll I guess we'll let you guys go, and we'll talk to you soon. That was awesome.
Thanks again, guys. This was fun.
All right, that was so much fun, Brian. I really that was like one of those interviews that I had almost forgot that we were doing a interview for the show. We were just kind of chatting as friends, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, and it's true because we were just, you heard us, we were laughing, and it's kind of like what we were like when we talk to them normally, and it's just like they've really become just really good friends over the years, and I really miss that we haven't had a meetup in a while, and we really haven't got to see them in a while. But I know, even longer for you, I guess, because at least got to see him at that last meetup before the whole pandemic thing in California, where we just, oh my God, that was a fun time, and we were all the different events we did.
I missed Silver Dollar City too, so it's been a really long time for me. Yeah.
Oh right, yeah, you need to get back in that meetup. Well, I think they're talking about. I know that their Vegas one got canceled, but I think they're still talking about next summer at some point doing the one at Coney Island. So of course you can come for that one because because then you've been there anyway, and then you could we'll have a visit here, and we'll just have a whole fun thing.
That would be really cool.
Because they did the voice of those rides, and I guess they have the invite from the guy at Dino's Wonder Wheel Park. So a lot of cool stuff, and the new coaster. I just saw that today. They broke ground on the new Luna Park coaster log flume thing that's going on. So that's been all over the local news here. So
nice. All right, well, let's get to our movie of the week. We had to pick a good movie for the 200th, and we went back and forth. And this movie is one of my absolute favorites of all time. Now, it is not one I considered a horror movie upon its release. And I think there's still some controversy over whether it's a horror movie.
See, I did. Funny enough, I always considered it a horror movie, even though I get why people don't think of it. But there are so many arguments to prove that it is. But it's one of those, no matter what, you can see both sides. You can't blame one side of it for their opinion of it.
No, of course we're talking about 1991's The Silence of the Lambs, and this one, I think over the years, I feel like it's been more accepted as a horror movie. I feel like, because you always see those articles like the only horror movie that ever got an Academy Award for Best Picture, and they just call it a horror movie flat out. So
yeah, but yet IMDb doesn't have it listed there. It's funny, they don't have the horror listing.
Yeah, so it's one of those gray areas. I mean, I think there are many horror elements. I think the problem is, and I kind of ran across this I thought about it when I was watching Maniac Cop. Now, Maniac Cop is considered a horror movie, right? But and rightfully so, because it's really kind of a slasher. The slasher just happens to be a cop. But it got me thinking about other police procedurals and serial killer movies, and there's a lot of those that I would never consider horror. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. Seven's another one that you hear about. Seven, where people go back
Seven,
and forth.
I always think of.
So it's one of those things where it is a gray area, because there are some serial killer movies that I would say, no, that's not a horror movie. That's maybe a thriller, more of a crime drama. I mean, there's always this fuzziness to it. I don't quite know where I stand on Silence of the Lambs as a horror film. I really don't. I think it's really terrifying in various ways, but it doesn't fit my traditional mold of what a horror movie is. So it's one that's still in that gray area, but I'm okay with that. It's one of my favorite movies, so I'm okay with it just being its own little thing.
Well, if you think about it, though, think of some of the elements in there that happen and some of the things that go on in that movie where you've seen in some of other movies that are completely considered horror, like the fact that they're making human masks out of human skin. And what does that remind you of? Well, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But if you look, they basically based it a little bit off of the same villain, because I guess it was in the trivia, like Buffalo Bill, right? Was a little bit based off of Ed Gein. And so they said so was Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Leatherface. But also, if you think about it, look at Hannibal Lecter's character. He adds this psychological horror to it, and he also eats people. It's like he literally is a cannibal to what he does, and he's like one of those psychological. There's a lot of psychological horror to it with it, and so while yes, there is a lot of argument to say that it's not, because it's a crime thriller, but there's so many horrific elements in there why not consider it also horror? And that's the thing I don't get is why, like, IMDb doesn't even have it. They have 3 tags on it. I think it's crime, thriller, action, I think it is. But why not, or mystery? Why not horror also?
Yeah, and the other thing, too, that also, when I start thinking about this, that sways me towards it being more of a horror film is the way so many sequences are designed to be disturbing.
Right.
Like when Clarice goes and visits the insect guy, and he's kind of making advances towards her, and he's very creepy. Like, all the guys in this movie are super creepy.
Like the doctor in the beginning.
Yeah,
like the first
Dr. Chilton. Dr.
Chilton, yeah.
Yeah, like they're all like creepy. There's always this this air of menace towards Clarice as a woman from the males in the movie. So there's a lot of unsettling stuff in this film that's outside of the actual plot and outside even really of the main characters, that's designed to put you kind of unsettle you.
Well, yeah, and they kind of make it. There was a thing in the trivia too about how you're supposed to see things as kind of like Clarice sees them a lot of shots. And so if you think about it, like, you're probably, all those creepinesses are supposed to be what she's feeling, and how she looks at I feel like she looks at Scott Glenn's character as more of a father figure because her father was killed. So there's like, I think you're supposed to see a lot of the characters from her viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Even think about the first shot you see of Hannibal Lecter. It's like that panning shot of her, literally, and that's her eyes, or she's walking along.
Let's talk about when the first time we saw this. I remember.
Should we go over the quick? The
Let's go through the housekeeping here of the. So for those that don't know this movie, Silence of the Lambs, 1991, of course, directed by Jonathan Demme, starring Jodie Foster as Clarice Starling, Anthony Hopkins as Dr. Hannibal Lecter, Casey Lemons as Ardelia Mapp, Scott.
By the way, remember Casey Lemons, right? Of course, what she went on to do is direct Yves Bayou, one of our favorites.
Oh yeah. That man, Yves Bayou was such a surprise to me. I still think about that movie from time to time.
Yeah,
really.
that's one of the things we were talking with Xanthi about the other day. Was that actually she was talking about how she loved Yves Bayou.
If you guys somehow missed Yves Bayou, go watch it.
I think it's on one of something now. It's on one of the streaming. I think it might be HBO Max or something. It's on a streaming service currently, so you should be able to see it.
Great movie. Scott Glenn as Jack Crawford, Anthony Hild as Dr. Frederick Chilton, Frankie Faison as Barney, Brooke Smith as Catherine Martin, and Ted Levine as Jamie Gum. And the synopsis here is: a young FBI cadet must receive the help of an incarcerated and manipulative cannibal killer to help catch another serial killer, a madman who skins his victims. I always know if a movie made an impression on me if I can remember the exact theater I was in when I watched it, and I remember this one to a T. I went with my mom and one of my mom's friends, and I knew nothing about this movie whatsoever. Let's see, 91, I guess I was just hit high school. Yeah, I was maybe a sophomore in high school, so maybe a junior. And so, depending on what time of year this came out. But I remember going, and I really knew nothing about the movie. I don't think I knew it in general it was some kind of like killer movie or something, but didn't know anything about it. And I came out of the theater, and I remember, I honestly don't believe this is like hindsight filling this in for me. I remember thinking this movie is special. Like this movie is really, really, really good. And I don't get that feeling from a lot of movies when I walk out of the theater. I might enjoy it. I might enjoy it a lot, but it's very rare I come out of the theater and go, "Oh my God, that movie was something special."
Yeah, I remember I saw this with Paul when I lived in California, and I remember it was like we were so excited. I think that was one of the few years I had seen like all the Oscar Best Picture nominees. So I think, as I remember, I was pretty excited. I remember wasn't there some controversy that year with Anthony Hopkins? They said he should have been in the supporting actor category, but they moved him out of it to the main.
Yeah, because
right?
in his trivia, he only had 24 minutes and 52 seconds of screen time. So you're going, how was he a lead when he was only in the movie for 24 minutes?
But that shows how good he is because he seems like he was in it the whole time.
Right, yeah.
Like people remember that movie of him being in it so much. But yet he literally 25, and it's like that something like they only share 4 scenes together. I think him and Jodie Foster, which is even more crazy because you feel like they interacted a lot.
Yeah,
it just shows how well done each scene was, that it imprints so strongly that it plays tricks on you. How much you saw them in there and how much he was in it.
Yeah, this movie also, I think this is the first movie that got me into Tom Petty, actually, because of course, they're playing American Girl when Catherine Martin is driving before she gets abducted. And I remember like really loving that scene and going, wow, what's that song? That's a cool song. And then that's when I went down like the Tom Petty rabbit hole. And then like Tom Petty became like a huge artist in my life. Especially when I went off to college, and his solo CD Wildflowers basically got me through my year away at NC State. So I mean, yeah, it's just funny how like a movie like this could just trickle and have these weird effects on you like years down the road. But that's what happened with this. But yes, we still we both got you got the Criterion version, right, Brian? The same one I got?
Yeah, I got I bought I had a version of it, but like I saw your version when you got it and it looked so cool, and I'm like, I need to get that version. I need to just the Monolith needs it.
Yeah.
So I had got it.
And now there's a 4K version coming out, but I'm kind of bummed I didn't wait for that one, but I'm also glad I got the Criterion because I think it's got some extras that the 4K is not going to have. So, but yeah, this movie's amazing. I don't know how many times I've seen this movie. At least a dozen, I'm sure. But it was one of those that when DVD came out was one of the first ones I remember buying. I've actually still got my old DVD copy from the very first time I bought it, which I think was, I can't remember who put that one out. But it did have some special features and stuff on it because I used to watch it all the time for the special features and things because I love the movie so much. But yeah, it's just it's an absolute classic, and it never gets old to me. Like I don't ever get tired of watching this movie.
Yeah, no, it's one of those ones where it's funny. For this episode, this is the first time I watched it in its entirety in a long time because it's been on cable a lot the last couple of years, and so I've always seen it like from parts.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like this is the first time I like actually sat down in a while to watch it, and it's like, it's one of those movies that every time I watch it, I like it more.
Yeah, and it really holds up really well too. Except for, I will say we will talk about this. Like, and this came up with Dress to Kill as well. Like in today's climate, did you find the character of Jane Gum, I don't know, like troublesome in any way? Because he is, he's trying to make a woman suit. There's like this, there's the same controversy that came up in Dress to Kill, where you're kind of portraying a transgender character or a cross-dressing character as the villain. Like, when you rewatched it, did you find that troublesome in today's climate, or did you? Because I know that's been a controversy with this film.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. And one line I noticed though in it that I've seen this movie a ton of times, but I for some reason maybe this is how it stood out. But I remember there was a sequence where Jodie Foster even says a line of where she says something like, or she's in a conversation, cross-dressers are usually not, like, they're not violent people or something like that. As to almost like back then, as like they almost knew they wanted to separate the two elements of the character, and
right.
Even though it's like, obviously his goal in this, he skinned these people to make the suits, and they made it was a plot point. I don't know if it was as I don't know. It's weird. It probably should have had more of a conscious point to me, but I think maybe again because I don't know. It's like even in some way I still think this is Lecter's movie to me, even though it's so not really his main. There's like he's not the main villain in it,
right?
But it's weird. So I don't know if that is what maybe it's just a thing that was the way my brain focuses more on the other character, and I look at Buffalo Bill's Jamie Gump as like as the secondary villain in it, which is kind of weird because he's really not.
Yeah, the one piece that today seems commonplace, which was not commonplace in the early 90s when this came out, is having such a strong female hero of the movie. And that really struck me when I was rewatching it, is because in the movie, like we said, like there's elements of the movie that you're supposed to see Clarice's viewpoint as a woman in this male dominated field that she's in. I mean, they make a very big point of pointing that out multiple times in the movie, that she is out of place. And so I thought it was really cool to have such a strong hero back then. And it's something that probably today would be, not that it's done enough, but it would seem a little more commonplace today. But I really think that she was probably a big influence on movies, or her character was a big influence on movies going forward, of a strong central female character.
Yeah, I mean, I think she kind of, there was definitely a mold that a lot of people, I think, that followed after that, I don't think would have taken place as much if she didn't do such a good job here. And
I've always liked Jodie Foster. I mean, obviously watched her growing up from a child actress on up, but so I was already a fan of her when she did this movie, but I still think this is definitely, to me, is her defining role.
And this is like, it's so weird because she really is the whole time like almost like commanding this film, but I don't know if you're supposed to see it so blatantly. But if you on rewatches, you could see that she's kind of always in some sort of control, even when it looks like she's not. And I think that's what's impressive. I don't know if that's just her performance or it was written that way.
Yeah,
but, you know what I'm getting at? Like, yeah. It's like she has her moments where, where they keep showing her being vulnerable and showing her like, making mistakes and stuff, and how she's got her, her weaknesses. But for some reason, you never quite feel that she's not going to be like the heroine of this. She's not going to be the hero. You always feel confident enough that she's going to win. And I mean, you got to give credit to her, just for Jodie Foster for that performance, because it, a lot, when you see this movie, almost everybody, everyone remembers, obviously, Anthony Hopkins' character, because, for his 24 minutes, he packs everything into it, and, but for some reason, it's like, I think it's like, it's almost a movie that, the more you watch it, the more, you're always going to find some new nuances to it. And I think that's what's pretty impressive about it. And that's what I noticed, I think, on the latest rewatches, because I noticed how, I think because I've seen it enough, so I kind of was like, all right, I know Anthony Hopkins, what he's going to do. I know Hannibal Lecter, his role. I know all the Ted Levine and the Buffalo Bills thing. But like, I think maybe like almost subconsciously I focused on Jodie Foster more in this rewatch, and I think I got all that from it. But
yeah, I'll also say that since this movie came out, I'm like a true crime junkie. I've watched every serial killer documentary known to man. I watch all the serial killer specials on Netflix. I listen to true crime podcasts. I mean, I've just totally been immersed in this. I read true crime books. I'm a total true crime junkie head. So, which I wasn't when I watched this movie originally. And even despite all that, like, this movie has not, to me, been dulled or lessened over time the creep factor and the intensity of the killers that are portrayed in this movie. Like, it still feels like scary to me, despite all the hundreds of hours of true crime content that I've immersed myself in. I think this movie still really did such an incredible job of portraying what that's really like, that it still unnerves me in a way that most of these true crime content doesn't. So it's really incredible that here 30 years later, this film was able to convey the horror of what this is, and the true life horror of what this is, in a way that a lot of films have not.
Yeah, no, that's why I think, you know, why I don't understand, like, why I could see the argument for it. I don't understand why, like, IMDb cannot put this as horror, because it does have a lot of horrific elements that you would, like you said, you'd find in that, but it's much worse. You know, it's like, it's much more.
Like, I guarantee you, they have a horror tag on a movie that is much less horrific than this movie.
Yeah, you know, and so I don't know, and like, in fact, if, like, with the amount that you watch, that this affects you so strongly, you know, it's not an accident. You know?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I think the maybe the biggest argument that this is a horror movie is that down here in the trivia it said Gene Siskel, who hated horror movies, notoriously hated horror movies, gave it only 2 stars. So he definitely viewed it as a horror movie for giving this classic 2 stars. So maybe that's all the evidence we need.
Yeah, that Siskel.
Damn you, Siskel. Well, anyway, so I guess, is it time to? We want to go through some trivia, Brian, or do you want to unveil our new feature here?
I don't know. Let's wait on the feature. Let's go through a couple of little trivia things first. And now, once again, we kind of decided not to. I put a lot here, but we probably shouldn't go through them all like we usually do, because you can pretty much get this stuff on IMDb. But there are a couple that singled out, and this one is one for me because, obviously, like we said, Anthony Hopkins is so legendary in this role, and he's so known for it. But he was not the only choice. So let's see the people that were considered for the role of Hannibal Lecter. It's like Sir John Hurt, Christopher Lloyd. Can you imagine, first of all, Christopher Lloyd sitting there like,
God.
Clarice, you gotta come back with me. You know, it's like, what, like, I just can't picture him in that hair, and like,
oh my God.
Because you totally can picture him with the Doc Brown hair now till the end of time, you know? So, not really sure how, like, he would. And then they got Dustin Hoffman. While Dustin Hoffman can play creepy, just he's so small in stature, I could just picture him going like, you know, like, oh, Clarice, it's Buffalo Bill. But, you know, because now you picture him as Rain Man.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like the certain characters, like, they you have such, like, iconic, like, roles that they're already in, like, to picture them in, like, this role, which is, like, so iconic. You got Sir Patrick Stewart.
Oh my God.
That would have been funny. Can you imagine? Like, I could see him pulling it off at some reason, especially if you see, because you can see him go crazy, like in Green Room, you know.
Well, he could definitely pull off, like, Hannibal's, like, Dr. Lecter's, like, fancy side. You know how, because he's like so, you know, upper class and refined. He could definitely pull that piece off.
Yeah, I totally see him doing that. Yeah, but I can't picture him going like the. I don't know, that really sinister thing. I just wouldn't buy it from him.
Yeah.
You know? I always picture that meme, you know, where he's pretending like he's kind of half laughing, you know, that meme that goes around. I can picture that. It's like Louis Gossett Jr.
No.
I could see. Well, I mean, I could see him because he's got so he could get so serious, but I don't know if he'd have the creepiness.
Yeah.
That's needed. Robert Duvall, that's possibly one of the closest ones I can kind of see.
Because Robert Duvall could do just about anything in his prime. He was really one of my favorite actors there for a little while.
Yeah. Jack Nicholson, I mean...
Ooh, Jack...
I mean, he could do everything, but he'd be Jack Nicholson.
It would have been almost a parody at that point. He would have made it a cartoon, which, I mean, that's one of the, you know, really one of the main reasons Stephen King did not like Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, is because King's original vision for that novel was you have this family man that is corrupted and twisted by the Overlook Hotel, whereas in Kubrick's The Shining, Jack Nicholson comes off crazy the minute he steps in the door. I mean,
even when he's not supposed to.
Yeah, even when he's not supposed to, he looks like he's out of his mind. So I think that's what you would get here too. It would just be a little bit too much crazy on top of crazy.
Yeah, like, and I think you'd be more distracted.
Yeah.
You'd be looking at him. And then there was also Robert De Niro. I mean, I don't know. Same thing for me.
You talking to me, Carice?
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, there's certain characters, like, or like Christopher Walken, you know, the people that, like, just, or their character, like, no matter what, they're always somewhat similar in their character. And, like, I think those are the people you have to avoid. At that point, I mean, Anthony Hopkins was known, but not like, I don't think he was known for this type of role. Am I correct? Right? I think he was still trying to really become.
No, he was not known for this at all. I mean,
yeah,
I can imagine if you told me that.
I mean, he was an Elephant Man by that point, but still, I mean.
But I think if you had told me that he was going to play a serial killer back then, at that time I didn't know who Anthony Hopkins was. But I'm talking about like if you took my mind back then, like sent me back in time, knowing who he was, I would have said, "Nah, there's no way he could play like that." It would probably would have seemed just as ridiculous as any of these other cast choices.
Well, remember, he was Audrey Rose. He was kind of creepy in that, but in like a more of a sympathetic creepiness. Like you could see why. So you didn't think of him as crazy because he kind of like you felt for him a little bit.
I mean, I could definitely see why his role in The Elephant Man was what attracted Jonathan Demme to him, because he did have that, posh Englishman, refined character that Dr. Lecter needed. But that was one of the trivia questions actually, are where he I think he said up here, Anthony Hopkins questioned Jonathan Demme and said, Dr. Treves was a good man, referring to his character in The Elephant Man. Why did you cast me as this? And Demme replied, so is Lecter. He's a good man too, just trapped in an insane mind. I thought it was kind of a cool little trivia bit there.
Because it's weird, because as creepy as he was, you were drawn to him in this.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yes, I mean, a lot of people like the villains, people love Jason, they love Freddy, they love Michael Myers, but like this is like, this is definitely, there's more humanity in like, and you can kind of sense there's something about him in there, but he's like, but you can tell also like, okay, he's nuts though at the same time.
Yeah. Jeremy Irons is an interesting one, but he always, it was funny is he turned down this role because he didn't want to play another dark character. But all I know Jeremy Irons from is dark characters.
Yeah. Has he ever been like a bright and sunny?
I know, he just always seems kind of dire. I mean, I could see him doing it, but I think it would be just a much more two-dimensional to me. I mean, not that I'm not downplaying Jeremy Irons' acting ability in any way whatsoever, but I think it would have been a much more by the book, I guess, kind of performance, because he's just known for playing those types of characters, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, and then look, the last one really that was like, I guess, next in line if Hopkins didn't take it was John Lithgow, and of course that's one I can see too, because of course he was on, what was he on Dexter?
Yeah, he was on Dexter, and he pulled it off brilliantly.
Yeah, and what was it, Raising Cain? He was really good in. It was crazy. So he could, but he might be probably other than Hopkins, he might be the best, because John Lithgow could do anything.
Yeah, I think the only slight criticism of John Lithgow, I think he could have totally pulled it off, but I know him from so many comedic roles.
Right.
In my current mindset, it would be hard for me. As good as he was in Dexter, and he was brilliant in Dexter, and he actually pulled it off. So, but I don't know. I just feel like Anthony Hopkins just had that little bit of like sinisterness that Lithgow lacks.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I've seen him do enough, but like that, like I think I would have totally accepted it. But it's now it's hard to replace him, because now you're comparing. The role that was done versus what he could have added to it, so you don't know. He could have added an element that, like, if that thing switched, maybe it would even be better.
In an alternate universe, we're going. Can you believe Anthony Hopkins was almost up for this role? But
I know.
John Lithgow got it.
That's a cool segment. You know how like Kevin and Amanda kind of do that? They do their recast on things. We should almost do that, like in an alternate universe mold.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Kind of a thing. But so that's I guess now we should probably move before we do our beer pairing, right? Should we go into our new segment?
Yeah. So what we decided to do is, I don't remember where this idea came from, so apologies. I think it was mentioned at some point, and then
David Terry.
I think David Terry said we should do it. I don't know. I can't remember the exact details. I have to go back and look at my emails. But we've always threatened to do Civil Gore Theater, in which we would reenact a scene from a famous movie. And what better movie to reenact a scene from than Silence of the Lambs?
Mostly so Tim can do his best Clarice.
Because we're such brilliant actors. And
we're and our impersonations are so dead on, right?
Should we? We got the script in front of us, so we were going to do the famous introduction of Clarice and Dr. Lecter. And should we actually read the narration of the script, or are we just doing the dialogue?
Maybe do the whole thing just so it like people get context, I think.
Okay. All right. So So yeah, let's do that. So we're gonna try this as a new feature. This is, for those who have not seen it, you don't have to even bother going out and getting the Blu-ray or renting it, because we're gonna recreate it for you right here in the magic of your headphones. It's gonna be like identical. You're gonna think you're listening to a clip from the movie.
Yeah, that's how good this will be in no way whatsoever.
Yes. Okay.
But
all right. So I guess we'll start this on page 11 there, Brian.
Yes.
All right. Are you reading the narrator or am I reading? I guess I'll read the narrator since I'm.
Because you have the dulcet tones.
All right. Dr. Lecter's cell is coming slowly into view. Behind its barred front wall is a second barrier of stout nylon net, sparse, bolted-down furniture, many soft-color books and papers. On the walls, extraordinarily detailed, skillful drawings, mostly European cityscapes in charcoal or crayon. Clarice stops at a police distance from his bars, clears her throat. Dr. Lecter, my name is Clarice Starland. May I talk with you? Dr. Hannibal Lecter is lounging on his bunk in white pajamas, reading an Italian Vogue. He turns, considers her. A face so long out of the sun it seems almost bleached. Except for the glittering eyes and the wet red mouth, he rises smoothly, crossing to stand before her, the gracious host. His voice is cultured, soft.
Good morning.
Cutting between them as Clarice comes a measured distance closer. Doctor, we have a hard problem in psychological profiling. I want to ask for your help with a questionnaire.
We, being the behavioral science unit at Quantico, you're one of Jack Crawford's, I expect.
I am, yes.
May I see your credentials?
Clarice.
What the hell? What voice am I doing?
Clarice is surprised, but fishes her ID card from her bag, holds it up for his inspection. He smiles soothingly.
Closer, please. Closer.
She complies each time, trying to hide her fear. Dr. Lecter's nostrils lift as he gently, like an animal, tests the air. Then he smiles, glancing at her card.
That expires in 1 week. You're not real FBI, are you?
I'm still in training at the academy.
Jack Crawford sent a trainee to me?
We're talking about psychology, Doctor, not the Bureau. Can you decide for yourself whether or not I'm qualified?
That's rather slippery of you, Officer Starling. Sit, please.
She sits in the folding metal desk chair. He waits politely till she's settled, then sits down himself, faces her happily.
Now then, what did Miggs say to you?
She is puzzled.
Multiple Miggs in the next cell? He hissed at you. What did he say?
He said, I can smell your...
I see. I myself cannot. You use Evian Scrin Cream, and sometimes you wear L'air de Temps, but not today. You brought your best bag, though, didn't you?
Yes.
It's much better than your shoes.
Maybe they'll catch up.
I have no doubt of it.
Did you know that... Take two.
Tim is shifting uncomfortably, by the way.
Yeah, sorry, shifting uncomfortably. Did you do those drawings, Doctor?
Yes. That is a Duomo. Oh, no. Duomo. I said the Duomo. Yeah. Yes, that is Duomo, seen from the Belvedere. Do you know Florence?
All that detail, just from memory?
Memory, Officer Starling, is what I have instead of a view.
A pause, then Clarice takes the questionnaire from her case. Dr. Lecter, if you'd please consider...
No. You were doing fine. You'd be courteous and receptive to courtesy. You'd establish trust with the embarrassing truth about Miggs. And now his ham-handed segue into your questionnaire. It won't do. It's stupid and boring.
I'm only asking you to look at this, Doctor. Either you will or you won't.
Jack Crawford must be very busy indeed if he's recruiting help from the student body. Busy hunting that new one, Buffalo Bill. Such a naughty boy. Did Crawford send you to ask my advice on him?
No, I came because we need...
How many women has he used, our Bill?
5 so far.
All flayed?
Partially, yes, but, Doctor, that's an active case. I'm not involved if...
Do you know why he's called Buffalo Bill? Tell me. The newspaper won't say.
I'll tell you if you'll look at this form. He considers, then nods. It started as a bad joke in Kansas City homicide that they said this one likes to skin his humps.
Witless and misleading. Why do you think he takes their skins, Officer Starling? Thrill me with your wisdom.
It excites him. Most serial killers keep some sort of trophies.
I didn't.
No, you ate yours. A tense beat, then a smile from him at this small boldness.
Send that through.
She rolls him the questionnaire in his sliding food tray. He rises, glances at it, turning a page or two disdainfully.
Oh, Officer Starling. Do you think you could dissect me with this blunt little tool?
No, I only hope that your knowledge... Suddenly, he whips the tray back at her with a metallic clang that makes her start. His voice remains a pleasant purr.
You're so ambitious, aren't you? You know what you look like to me with your good bag and your cheap shoes? You look like a rube. A well-scrubbed, hustling rube with little taste. Good nutrition has given you some length of bone, but you're not more than one generation from poor white trash, are you, Officer Starling? That accent you're trying so desperately to shed, pure West Virginia. Was it your father, dear? Was he a coal miner? Did he stink of the lamp? And oh, how quickly the boys found you. All those tedious, sticky fumblings in the back seats of cars while you only dream of getting out. Getting anywhere? Yes. Getting all the way to the FBI.
His every word has struck her like a tiny, precise dart, but she squares her jaw and won't give ground. You see a lot, Dr. Lecter, but are you strong enough to point that high-powered perception at yourself? How about it? Look at yourself and write down the truth. She slams the tray back at him. Or maybe you're afraid to.
You're a tough one, aren't you?
Reasonably so, yes.
And you'd hate to think we were common. Oh, wait, sorry. Let me do that over. And you'd hate to think you were common. My, wouldn't that sting? Well, you're far from common, Officer Starling. All you have is the fear of it. Now, please, excuse me. Good day.
And the questionnaire?
A censor taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. Fly back to school, little Starling.
And scene.
Scene. Oh, that wasn't so bad, actually. At least it was fun for us. I don't know.
We were amusing ourselves. That was probably like, they were like, oh, Jesus Christ, get this over with. But
yeah, and the funniest thing is I kept hearing you start to laugh, and I'm like trying to not.
I was like literally
I
was having to lean back from the microphone so you're not picking up me laughing. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, yes, that was Civil War Theater. That might be the first and last episode. We don't know.
If you like it, we'll continue it, and if you don't, we'll probably still continue it.
Probably so.
At least for a little while.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So that was Silence of the Lambs. Brian, what do you have for our beer pairing?
Okay. So I found such a perfect beer pairing for this. It's funny. Silence of the Lambs seemed to have a whole blogs about people making beers about it.
Really? Interesting.
And what? Say that again.
Oh, I thought it was interesting.
Oh, yeah. So it was, and I kept finding different things. A lot of them were microbrews. A lot of them were like one-offs and stuff. But I did find something that's actually a year-round beer out of RAR Brewing. I think it's like Rarity. There's something. Yeah, there's some kind of full name to it, but it comes out as RAR Brewing out of Cambridge, Maryland, and it's called Lecter Nectar. So it's 7.8%. So it's pretty decent for an IPA. The funny thing is I could not find a good solid description. I was hoping for this really cool description. Mm-hmm. All I found it on one of these beer sites was it says an India Pale Ale brewed with blood oranges and lactose milk sugar. So blood orange definitely is a key, I think, in there for a Hannibal Lecter beer. But yeah, this one I definitely got to track down. It's supposedly year round, so it shouldn't be hard to catch. But
very nice.
So it looks good.
All right, well, it's time for a triple threat. We haven't had one of those in a long, long time. So
yeah, so we don't even have it last week. We just go right into the new week.
Into it. All right, so we are looking for an actor or actress. Here are your clues. Listen carefully. Clue number 1. Before I appeared in movies, I was in a commercial for cereals, perfect for this time of year.
So that kind of narrows it down, I think, at least for the commercial.
Clue number 2. I played the movie version of a well-known spooky child.
I think this is an easy one, by the way.
Yeah, this is going to be easy.
I kind of purposely eased us back into this.
And clue number 3. I played a notable axe murderer in a film and television series.
Yes. I think most people will get this one.
Yeah, we had to ease you back in. It's been a while. So
yeah.
Fan topic food question of the week. So this is a great one. Again, sent to us by David McHugh, Horror Mailman on Twitter. And it's a very simple question, Brian. Do you think aliens exist?
Should I go first or you?
It's up to you. I've got my answer.
Okay. I will say yes. I am not like one of these people that think we are the only ones in this entire universe. Now, whether do I think we're primed to be invaded by aliens? I don't think so right now. But if I were an alien, I would not want to. I would want to stay clear from this planet right about now. But no, I do believe it, and I remember there was one. Everyone has that moment, I think, where they quite see a UFO, and I still remember this. When I used to in my room growing up through high school, I could when I was laying on my bed, if the window was open, I could pretty much see out the window that was alongside and see clearly into the sky. Normally, I closed the window shades, when I went to bed. You didn't want the street lights or the moon or anything, or also in the morning when you wake up and the sun comes in. So I always would close them. One night I was really tired and I probably forgot and I fell asleep. I remember waking up and looking out the window, and I'm staring at a light, but like how you wake up and you're kind of bleary eyed, so you're trying to focus, and I'm kind of looking, and I swear to God, the minute I focused on this light up in the sky, I saw it shoot off out of my view, as if it was like once I made eye contact with this thing, it sensed it and left. And maybe I was half asleep. But it's enough that I remember it. I can remember it so clearly in my mind, and and so I'm always like, huh, so it always like sticks with my head when people say that, and while and I do agree with that thing. A lot of people have this mindset. I always go back to what one of my teachers said. One of my favorite teachers in 5th grade. He always used to say. One time he actually gave us an assignment. He was big into sci-fi, and he gave us an assignment to write, sketch up and design what you think an alien from another planet would look like. And he basically was telling everybody they were wrong because people were coming up with drawings that look like aliens, that look like, the Close Encounters ones, or E.T., or stuff like that, stuff from the movies. When he said he was adamant, he said, if there is an alien that ever came to the planet, you would never recognize it as an alien because it would not look anything like a human form. And for some reason that always stuck with me in my head. So, but it also kind of makes it like why it's more believable, because for all we know, they could be standing right outside our window now. We might not even notice, Yeah. Because I so it's like, but I always do believe. I'm always like open to things like that. Like I always, believe in the, supernatural. I believe in a lot of, some of the cryptid stuff. So it's like, why wouldn't I believe in this? I mean, I think, am I a fanatic? No, definitely not. But am I open to the fact that there could be intelligent life or unintelligent life on another planet? Sure. Why not?
Yeah, I take the more skeptical approach. Like, do I think aliens exist in terms of is there other life in the universe? Absolutely, 100%. No question in my mind. I think that's absolutely insane to think that it doesn't exist, as big as the universe is. Has it visited Earth is a bigger question. I tend to fall on the side of no. I'm extremely skeptical that UFOs are actual aliens and that there's aliens that have abducted people. I just don't believe in that. Although I watch the documentaries all the time. I watch the specials all the time. I just finished watching that great Netflix one that had this big long UFO government thing documentary I watched. I want
to check that out.
Yeah, it's really good. So I love that. And with the recent revelations that have come out from the the Navy footage of the or now they call them, what do they call it? What's the new name? Not UFOs anymore. Aerial phenomenon or something.
Yeah, something like
UAPs or whatever. But so it's certainly intriguing. But I'm not ready to make the jump that that's from another planet by any means yet. So yes, I do think there's aliens. I do think they exist. Do I think they've been to Earth? Probably not. Like 99% sure I'd fall on the not. But I would leave 1% open for the possibility because, like you said, if they were able to make it here from those distances, there's no telling what they're actually like. I mean, there's no telling what they could do to conceal themselves, or I mean, like I've always heard the analogy that a race that was an alien race that was that far advanced above us would be no more interested, might not be any more interested in us than we are going down the street walking past an anthill.
Right.
And to the ant,
we kind of look down on it.
Right. And to
like,
and to the ants, they would have no perception of this thing that's walking past them. Really. So we may be in such, there may be such a gap there between us and whatever is out there that we can't even, like, you can't even close that gap. It's like closing the gap between an ant and a human. You can't do it. The ant's never going to understand.
Yeah, and what's funny? Always people have this thing that they assume that the alien life is going to be this high, like, completely, like, super intelligence hybrid. What if it's like stupider than us? It's like.
Well, I think that's only because they would have to make it here. So if they have to be intelligent to be able to make it to Earth because of the distances.
Well, think about it. We're not the most intelligent group here, and we made it to planets. I mean, it's like, yeah, we haven't made it. We've only made it so far, but I mean, come on. I mean, we've basically the last couple of years here, we've seen a lot of stupidity out there, and to think it's pretty impressive we got as far as a planet as we did when you see some of what's going on.
There's some cool, there's some really cool videos and articles I've read about why we haven't detected life yet, and there's all kinds of theories, and they're all like almost all equally terrifying. What was it? I can't remember the science fiction personality that said either we're not alone in the universe or we are alone in the universe, and both possibilities are equally terrifying. I think that's very accurate.
Yeah.
So
that sounds like, is that something like Neil deGrasse Tyson said?
No, I think it was either like, gosh, I don't want to mess this up because there's probably people screaming at the podcast right now. It was either like Carl Sagan, or I think it was more like, I want to say Isaac Asimov said it.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
But,
yeah, and it's funny because you see those found footage stuff before it's like real like I remember there was this thing on it's funny because I think it was on Fox 5, which is around here. We saw this years ago. I remember my brother and I got it, and it was like freaked us out because it was kind of one of these like found footagey things, but it was before you really knew what found footage was. Before the Blair Witch, before that, it was like, and it was a real documentary supposedly. But now I think back, I'm like, I wonder if it never was a real documentary. It was one of those fake documentaries. But it was like some kid, I guess he was videotaping on his old camcorder, and he lived in kind of like a farmhouse kind of thing, and he would see like he kept hearing these sounds, so he went out, and I remember he saw. Like they showed his video footage, and it was like these really tall, long-legged things like walking towards him. I remember it was either way what it was. It was a fake documentary or a real documentary with just fake elements to it.
That was that movie I watched recently. Remember, I watched that. There was that. It was fake, but it was.
But it was done like a real.
Yeah, it was done like
thing,
a real.
right?
Yeah, it was like a real.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's what I saw, and it was just on regular TV. It happened to be a regular TV. But. Yeah, like stuff like that, I remember. It's cool. And, when you see some, like, I do love those alien invasion movies. I love from the big blockbusters, of course, like Independence Day, but I also love, like, Fire in the Sky, which was one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was well done. Or, Signs. I love Signs.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. Like, those movies, like, when you see those, some of them kind of get it right to whereas I think like now that I see how we reacted the last couple of years to the pandemic, can you imagine? I'm like, God forbid we ever get really attacked. You think we'd literally have half the people saying, oh, that alien laser's fake. This alien laser's real. So half the people would be obliterated. Half the people would, so it's like, I'm hoping that if there are aliens out there and they decide to invade us, I mean, I figured they would have done it by now this past year when we were so vulnerable, like split on everything. Or imagine this. Here's a thought that'll blow your mind. What if every single disease that comes down to this planet was given to us by another like force out in the universe or something like that? Can you imagine that?
Oh yeah, like they're like just dropping stuff in to see what will happen. That kind of goes with
like
the.
They're like the best way to get these people is we don't need to come down with our weapons. We're just gonna drop a disease upon them.
Well, that's the thing. They could easily do that. That'd be the easiest thing to do. You know, and then you just keep all the infrastructure and stuff for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like why, you know, like you figure like some of those movies get it wrong. Like they come down, they just destroy the planet. Why? Just so they can rebuild everything.
Yeah.
It's like it definitely makes for interesting discussions. That's what I love about these fan topic foo things, because we really get to go off tangent and come up with cool conversations we may not have had.
Yeah. Yeah.
But long story short of it is basically yes. To summarize, Tim and I believe in aliens, but you know we're not so sure they're invading us per se. But we're basically open to, and I think you have to be if you know. I think it's good for the soul to be open to everything. You know, to never close yourself. Like I never like to close myself off from things. You know?
It's too much fun.
Why wouldn't?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speculation is all the fun.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap it up. My voice is pretty much shot. But
plus you got to get up at like 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I got a work call at 4:30 in the morning. Great. So
this was a fun episode.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I hope you guys. I hope this supersized episode kind of makes up a bit for the long gap, because I know we had not really a gap in content, because I think we've released at least something every week. But we really haven't released a regular episode. It took far longer to get this one out than we originally anticipated, due to the Halloween Horror Nights vacation and the prep for that, and the post prep and the recovery and all that kind of good stuff. But we're finally back on track. I think we're going to be we should be good to go for regular episodes through the end of the year.
Yeah, and I think I know 2 movies I think we want to definitely put on there. I think we should do Halloween Kills as being one of them, especially because it is streaming on Peacock as well.
Yep.
So it's not like something where we'll have to. It's easier to, obviously, when you have streaming service or the film in your home possession of some sort, it's easier to do that for a podcast. And also I think we need to do a Fear Farm 2 episode for sure, because we both just witnessed that. And that's why I'm like hesitant to review it, because I want to save it for an episode.
Yeah, we could do that for sure.
So I think that should be definitely one that we do coming up. So I think those will be definitely in the next month. We'll have those 2 movies. I think we'll do again some holiday ones. For like we usually like of all months of December, we do some holiday horror. There's still so many we haven't done.
Yeah, that's definitely coming up. We'll probably do. You know, we keep talking about doing our planes, trains, and automobiles commentary. We almost have to do that this Thanksgiving. We almost have to do it.
Yeah,
we've always threatened
I
it.
think we do.
As kind of a bonus for you guys that that like our non-horror content.
Yeah, and we still owe Cody Velocipaster.
Yeah,
somewhere
that's
down the road.
Yeah. I see that from time to time pop up, and I go, "Dang it, we never did that for Cody."
I know. I'm like, oh, we forgot.
Yeah.
We need to do that.
All right, guys. So we will see you back here next week. Take care, and again, appreciate all the kind words and audio recordings and stuff you sent in for the 200th. That was very special, and we look forward to 200 more.
Yes, and even if you didn't send it, just anything that you guys say to us all the time, just the interactivity that we have on Twitter and Instagram and all different and emails and stuff. It's and Facebook even. It's just the best, because we do truly enjoy all that the conversations back and forth. So thank you, and we will do our best to get another 200 out to you. Hopefully with 200 more Civil War theaters. And,
they're like, no, we just lost 100.
Like, okay,
we just lost 200 subscribers.
They had a good run at 200. We'll just move on. All right, let's see you later.
Later, guys.